coming pricing window of March 2026 alone, driven by a sharp surge in crude oil prices from approximately $71.41 per barrel to over $100 per barrel in mid-March, amid the war involving the United States, Israel, and Iran. Diesel was selling at 15.60 per litre, and petrol had exceeded 12.40 per litre. The Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act of 2025 officially added approximately 1 Ghana cedi to the price build-up, bringing the total energy sector shortfall and debt repayment levy to 1.95 Ghana cedi for petrol and 1.93 Ghana cedi for diesel. If the guarantee has been restored, and if the cedi is no longer shielding consumers from levies impacts, then the justification for the 1 Ghana cedi doomsday levy has completely evaporated. Keeping it is not policy, it is punishment. We call on government to immediately amend the Energy Sector Levies Amendment Act 2025 under a certificate of urgency to repeal the 1 Ghana cedi doomsday levy forthwith. Additionally, we call on government to direct a comprehensive review of all taxes and levies embedded in the petroleum price build-up and to intensify those that can be suspended or restricted to cushion consumers from the full weights of the current global oil price shock.
So the first directive that Cabinet has issued is that the finance and energy ministers should take immediate steps to reduce the price of fuel through the removal of some taxes and margins on fuel, effective the next pricing window, which is about a week from today. And this is supposed to be done as soon as possible. Second, the Transport Minister has also been instructed to ensure the expedited deployment of newly acquired Metro Mass buses. You recall that over the weekend I announced the arrival of 100 Metro Mass buses. Another batch of 100 buses are expected in August, and then the last batch of 100 are expected in November to make up 300. But currently we have 100 available, and the Transport Minister has been instructed by Cabinet to ensure expedited deployment of these buses in high traffic corridors to ensure that it alleviates any difficulties that may have arisen out of the recent fuel price increases. The Transport Minister has also been charged with ensuring that these Metro Mass buses, in addition to the existing ones, charge or maintain transport fares which are lower than what private sector operators charge. And this is to ensure that Ghanaians are cushioned, especially when we reach peak periods at the rush hour. In addition to this, the President took the opportunity at the Cabinet meeting to remind all ministers and senior government officials and appointees to adhere strictly to his ban on fuel allowances and the allocation of fuel. And this applies to all ministers and senior government officials. Let me indicate that the reduction or removal of some taxes and margins, as I've indicated, which should lead to a reduction in fuel prices, effective the next pricing window, is supposed to last for an initial period of 4 weeks from the next pricing window. After the 4 weeks, the situation will be reviewed, and as and when it is deemed necessary, appropriate actions will be taken. So these are the major decisions taken at today's emergency cabinet session on fuel price.
Brasebo Kwamankese constituency, Phyllis Kwachofosu there, giving details of that emergency cabinet meeting. And this is one that exactly a week ago he gave a hint of here on the key point on what government will be doing to at least cushion Ghanaians against the impact of the increasing prices of petroleum products at the pumps. There are no specifics as yet as to exactly what levies or taxes will be removed, but there's clear indication of what government will do in the coming days with this instruction to the Minister of Finance and the Energy Minister on what to do. We'll have a conversation this morning because already organized labor is asking for cuts that would cushion the consumer or the ordinary Ghanaian well enough. But then again, there are some issues at play. Now, there's a ceasefire, but what should be the big takeaways from this conflict that has had a direct impact on us so as to ensure that, for as long as we are not immune to global situations or crisis or another pandemic, what should we be thinking about beyond just hoping that this ceasefire between the US, Israel, and Iran will actually stand and stand permanently? We'll have a conversation this morning here on the key point. The engineers and planners, an indigenous mining service provider, this week was selected to take over the operations of Damang mine in the western region, marking a significant development for local ownership of large-scale mines. Now, the tender committee set up to oversee the bidding and selection process recommended the granting of the Damang mining lease to engineers and planners after the company emerged as the best performer, essentially, out of the 4 local entities that submitted bids for this particular takeover. And in fact, after this decision was communicated, there's been some reactions to it regarding the tender process, the turnaround time, because the tender closed exactly the 31st of March, and 1 week on, there was an award or a selection already out of the 4. We'll be finding out exactly why that short period of a turnaround time and really what went into this process of selecting ENP. I remember prior to this moment, the minority had indicated that they are joining strength with some civil society organizations to ask questions of the Commission for Human Rights and Administrative Justice charge on this particular matter. So we'll have a conversation this morning. Today, as well, the Attorney General is in court. Essentially, there's a pending suit by private citizen Noah Adamte presenting a fundamental constitutional question: who holds the prosecutorial power in Ghana and how may it be exercised? Now, this goes to the heart. It's a constitutional question bordering on the powers of the Attorney General. Some of it has been given to the special prosecutor, reason why the Attorney General is asking questions this week. But there are those who hold the view that in answering this suit, we may just be going back to the days and the reason why the Office of the Special Prosecutor was set up in the first place. Others think otherwise, taking into consideration the happenings now and what we have seen in some instances between the Office of the Special Prosecutor and the Attorney General. Will this suit do us good or not? We would have a conversation this morning here on The Key Point. As always, we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, and on DSTV channel 279. We're all across the world on 3news.com. We're also on Kesme 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, and a number of radio stations across the country, and also the Voice of London radio in the heart of the City of London, and Voice of London television as well. And we have a new title sponsor for The Key Point, and we gladly welcome Bank of Africa onto The Key Point as a title sponsor. They are strong as a group and as close as a partner. I am Alfred Okanse. Stay with us. We will be back shortly after this quick break. The conversation starts right now.
So the first directive that Cabinet has issued is that the finance and energy ministers should take immediate steps to reduce the price of fuel through the removal of some taxes and margins on fuel, effective the next pricing window, which is about a week from today. And this is supposed to be done as soon as possible. Second, the transport minister has also been instructed to ensure the expedited deployment of newly acquired Metro Mass buses. You recall that over the weekend I announced the arrival of 100 Metro Mass buses. Another batch of 100 buses are expected in August, and then the last batch of 100 are expected in November to make up 300. But currently we have 100 available, and the transport minister has been instructed by cabinet to ensure expedited deployment of these buses in high traffic corridors to ensure that it alleviates any difficulties that may have arisen out of the recent fuel price increases. The transport minister has also been charged with ensuring that these Metro Mass buses, in addition to the existing ones, charge or maintain transport fares which are lower than what private sector operators charge. And this is to ensure that Ghanaians are cushioned, especially when we reach peak periods at the rush hour. In addition to this, the president took the opportunity at the cabinet meeting to remind all ministers and senior government officials and appointees to adhere strictly to his ban on fuel allowances and the allocation of fuel. And this applies to all ministers and senior government officials. Let me indicate that the reduction or removal of some taxes and margins, as I've indicated, which should lead to a reduction in fuel prices, effective the next pricing window, is supposed to last for an initial period of 4 weeks.
And that's Phyllis Kwachofosu there, the Minister in charge of Government Communications. This initial 4-week period that he talks about, a decision to remove some taxes and levies in the price build-up, will kick in from the second pricing window in the month of April, which starts from between the 15th and the 16th of April. It's just some 5 days away from now. There are a number of things at play, and there's a lot that's happening right now which could actually influence what's going to be happening in the coming days. This decision by government to remove some taxes and levies would definitely influence the decision by the oil marketing companies and then also the BDCs, who all take part in some of the factors that influence the price of petroleum products at the pumps. And so, with what is happening on the world market now as a result of that ceasefire, it's a temporary 2-week ceasefire between the US, Israel, and Iran. We've seen crude oil prices decline just a little bit, because before that ceasefire, the crude oil price on the world market was about $119, $115 per barrel. Now, after the ceasefire, this is what we're seeing. It reduced to about $90 at some point. Sometime within the week, it came down to about $89. Guess what? We woke up to this morning, it's gone up just a little bit to about $95 per barrel. What this means is that there's still some uncertainty, on the market globally, even though there is this ceasefire and there are meetings that will be taking place this weekend that would determine whether or not this ceasefire will actually hold permanently, and it's a crucial period. So we cannot necessarily bank our hopes as a country on this fragile ceasefire that we're seeing playing out between the US and Israel and Iran. Taking that into consideration, here's what government has done in terms of taking our own destiny into our own hands, because there are 3 factors that influences the price of petroleum products at the pumps. That is the price of crude oil on the world market, this one, and then also the currency differentials. That's how strong the cedi is against the major trading currencies, that's the dollar. And here's the reason why: because we import finished products into the country, petrol, diesel. That's what the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors do. Now, the oil marketing companies as well will now put some margins on that as well. at the various pumps. And that's what you see there. On the books, it's 16%, but last week we got to know that they don't actually even get it, okay? Then the third factor that influences the price of petroleum products at the pumps is the taxes and levies. That is also within our control, and that's why government is targeting that area, and that's what you see in red. Now, that decision government can take because there are some taxes and levies that are within the control of government. Government can take off. What are those? We don't have a clear indication of which taxes and levies government will take off. But in the coming days, we'll get to know because, as we do know, there's already some high-level meetings taking place between yesterday and today. Throughout the weekend, we understand there's going to be some strong engagements between the Ministry of Finance and the Energy Ministry regarding which taxes and levies will be taking off so as to cushion the Ghanaian consumer. Labour is asking for something in the region of about 20%. Now, when you take all the taxes and levies put together, this is how much. It's within the range of almost 3 Ghana cedis. So every liter of petrol or diesel that you buy, say now a liter of petrol is selling at about 13 cedis, 30 pesos, right? Out of the 13 cedis, 30 pesos. This is the value of the taxes and levies on it. So government can tinker with this amount, right? And already there's been some pointers and persons who are making demands of the kind or the type of taxes and levies that, if taking off, would make an impact. This one cedi development levy. But the 1 cedi development levy was introduced for a specific objective, raise money to knock off the energy sector debt, because this administration inherited huge debt in the energy sector, which led to some power outages in the first few weeks of this administration in 2025, I beg your pardon, in 2025. If this is taking off, we would have to then look for other alternatives of raising money, right, to knock off this debt that we're talking about. So there's some consideration that has to be taken into effect. But these are the taxes and levies: energy debt recovery levy, road fund levy, energy fund levy. Then you have the 1 cedi, then the price stabilization and recovery levy, sanitation and pollution levy, energy sector recovery levy, the special petroleum tax, primary distribution margin, and then the embossed margin as well is there. The fuel market margin, 9 pesos. UPPPF, 68 pesos. Then there's the commercial margins, that's the marketer's margin, and that is what the oil marketing companies, the 46 pesos that they have in there as well. It's within their control. This is the margin that the oil marketing company, they put on it. And so, thankfully, we'll be joined shortly by the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, right? The various fuel pumps you go to buy fuel. And when the prices go up, you will see it on their board. The Chief Executive Officer of that chamber is going to be joining us in a bit. He's just taking a seat shortly. Last week, you heard from the Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors. They are the ones who go and import the finished products, the petrol, diesel, into this country. Because Temaya Refinery, as we know now, we understand, is just refining about 10% of our needs, our local consumption of petrol and diesel. And then Central Oil, that's the Chinese-owned refinery, is refining about 30% of our local needs. So we still have to import a chunk of what we use in terms of petrol and diesel in this country. And that's why you have these margins in there for them. This is how much we're looking at in terms of the price of petrol and diesel. Some of the oil marketing companies have been playing with it because they want to capture a chunk of the market. So you've seen, for instance, Star Oil and GOIL reduce their XP, that is the synthetic fuels, to something lower than this, so as to attract the market. And these are all marketing strategies to the benefit of the consumer. So it's within their control. But then again, look at this. See how things are playing out right now. When it comes to this particular demand in terms of the stock that we have, that even if, worst case scenario, this ceasefire between Israel, the US, and Iran doesn't work, what is our fallback plan? according to the National Petroleum Authority, this is the stock we have. We have about almost 6 weeks of petrol, and then we have quite a number of ships at anchorage with some more stock of fuel and that's petrol and diesel. So this is not just what is in the system. This is what was accounted for as of Thursday. So there's an updated figure we will get from the CEO of the NPA, Godwin Edugita-Maklo, when he joins us shortly. And then we have a little over 7 weeks of diesel, over 5 weeks of petrol, over 7 weeks of diesel. That is what we have. And as I indicated, this was as of Thursday, so the figures obviously will change. But this is our level of consumption of our petrol and diesel needs in this country. On a monthly basis, we consume almost 300 million liters of petrol and about almost 250 million liters of diesel. Okay, so if we are refining just a combined almost 40% in this country, we still need more. Okay, and even though we are producing crude oil, and one of the thinking is that going forward, we should also then be looking at how we can put measures in place to take care of our own needs, so that when it happens that this ceasefire doesn't hold, what do we do? Here's where another challenge was revealed earlier in the week from the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC. PIAC launched their report this week, and it paints a certain picture. So even though we are producing crude oil, we still have a challenge when it comes to the levels of crude oil that we are producing in this country. And here's the reason why. Because according to the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, the amount of, or the barrels of crude oil we've been producing every year has been declining at least for the past 7 years. And we went into the data. Look at this. Right from 2019, we tracked the data, and it is indeed the case that the PIAC report has consistently, on a yearly basis, captured this. In 2019, we're producing a little over 71 million barrels. Then in 2020, reduced to 66.9 million barrels. 2021, 55.1 million barrels. 2022, 51.7 million barrels. 2023, reduced to 48.2 million barrels. Then in 2024, we steadied that same amount when it comes to the barrels of crude oil produced in the year. Now, PIAC is saying, the Public Interest and Accountability Committee is saying that as of 2025, the crude oil that we are producing on a yearly basis in this country has further reduced to 37.3 million barrels in a year. And that points to another concern which we're going to be looking at. And last week, you heard Kofi Bentel, who is the Vice President of Money Africa, talk about the big takeaway. So if we're even going to talk about expanding our refinery capacity, how much of the crude oil that is available is even an issue to look at, because over time, we have seen a consistent decline in the production of crude oil in this country. So what does this mean? And what has to be done to ensure that we are increasing the production of crude in this country, so that the crude that is given to Central Oil and the Tamale refinery for our local needs also would serve a very good purpose. So it's a combination of issues that we're going to look at this morning. And joining us is the Chief Executive Officer of the Chamber of Oil Marketing Companies, COMAC, and he is Dr. Riverson Opong. Dr. Opong, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
It's good to have you.
Same here.
Perfect. Also joining us is the Vice President of Imani Africa. He's a private legal practitioner as well, and he's a passionate Ghanaian. Not to say that Dr. Riverson Opong is not a passionate, but Kofi Bentel, good morning to you.
Good
Bentel.
morning. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. Also joining us shortly is Dennis Miracles Abuaji, is the Director of Communications of the Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia campaign team. He's going to be joining us shortly. And then also Godwin Eduji Tamaklo. He is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. He would also be joining us. And then as we go on in the subsequent topics, other guests will be joining us. We'll have a conversation this morning. So there are other issues that play on the table as well, where Adam Senano will be joining us together with also the Director of Legal for the Minerals Commission on the EMP matter. He was a secretary to the Tender Committee. He would also be joining us for a conversation this morning. But gentlemen, also good to have you this morning as always. And I'll start with you, Dr. Pong, for good reason. Taking into consideration what we have seen this week, I mean, clearly the ceasefire and how it's impacting on the global market is not a place to put our hopes on. I mean, because it's a fragile situation, is it not? At least, even though we've seen crude oil prices trend downwards, that is not a hopeful situation, is it?
Right. Thank you for having me here, and good morning once again to your listeners. We are hopeful as a country, because as it stands, the ceasefire does not necessarily mean that everything is ended, right? Nobody knows what Kwesi or Kwaku Trump can decide to do. After the 2 weeks, because I understand negotiation is ongoing now out of Iran. 245 vessels are lined up to be evacuated across the Strait of Hormuz. And the delay, in fact, has also affected the price a bit. So as of yesterday, we know it was coming down. Yesterday, it went up a bit after some few hours at the closing market.
Yeah.
That means that we are still not certain as to how things will churn out. But as it stands, as a net importer and as a sole dependent on international benchmark prices in determining the fuel price or the pump prices in Ghana, we are liable to whatever the outcome will be. And indeed, what expectation will be is that at least for the next window, regardless of what the government is saying, we might see a plateau or just a little bit increase, depending on how the forex also behaved.
I see.
However, yes,
you say we might see an increase? But
just a little bit.
I thought that because of the factors at play, we could possibly see a steady of that particular price, 17 series, or a possible reduction, because we're now going to see government kicking that directive of reducing taxes and levies.
Because I said that,
and then also the crude oil prices going down on the world market.
Yeah, so I said I'm not putting that into consideration yet, because you and I don't know which taxes or levies they are taking out now.
Right.
I don't know if it's the 1 cedi or, I don't know. Until we do, we can just do the calculation and know how it will be. But looking at the pricing window, which just ended yesterday, I think yesterday, for the next window coming from the Wednesday, 16th of April, it might not be likely to be impacted by this 95 that you see on the board.
I see. So the $95, even though there's been a reduction, it will not impact on the pricing for the next pricing window? No, we're 5 days away from the pricing window.
Weekends are not counted.
Weekends are not counted
pricing
in the
window is ended. The averages are calculated already.
Oh, really? So we are not going to benefit from this?
No. I don't see any benefit from that, to be fair with you. And that's why I mentioned that the decrease that we should expect should be in the next 2 windows, not in the next window. And one of the benefits we're going to have is the government initiative of taking some taxes off for now.
I see. And you say that the quantum of the taxes and levies that will be taking off would determine how much of a reduction we'll see.
Correct.
I see. Already there's a target of that 1 cedi you talk about, and here's why I bring in Ben Boachi, who's the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Energy Policy. Ben is joining us on Zoom. Ben, thank you so much for joining us. And if the 1 cedi demand for the reduction is anything to go by, we take into consideration the objective that for which this 1 cedi was introduced in the first place, to rake in some revenue to knock off the energy sector debt, then what will be the alternative in, as it were, getting the revenue to still deal with the energy sector debt, which is also another issue?
the call and also the pressure on consumers at this point. I mean, seeing crude oil price increase from about $60 to now above $100. Certainly, there's pressure on businesses and the general public. And it's not surprising that you have such intervention from critical groups like AGI and transport unions. It's a good call, but there are risks that need to be analyzed. The 1 cedi was imposed for contributing to the revenues that were being used to address the under recoveries in the power sector. So over the past period, we've seen some stability and also prompt settlement of debt in the energy sector. You recall the announcement that over $500 million had been paid to replenish the guarantees that had been drawn down by the gas producers, i.e. ENI and its partners. So that 1 cedi has provided significant liquidity for payments in the gas sector. So taking that out will require that we find another space to do that. And that will be within the control of Ministry of Finance to decide whether, if they did, we would be able to get revenue from other sources to be able to bridge the gap that would occasion. Because the gas bill at this point is over $70 million every month, which requires significant inflows to be able to pay. So the fundamental question to answer is whether we want to trade stability of the power sector for some cushioning of the consumer. As industry watchers, what we see possible is for us to analyze the sector broadly to see where some relief could be generated to support or cushion the consumer. We have persistently indicated that there are a lot of waste, particularly on the margins that are imposed on petroleum products, and some of the interventions that are trumped to, provide fuel, quality of fuel, and also protect tax revenue. We could look at them to see how we optimize them. If you look at margins like the UPPF, which for me is unbelievable, how it should cost almost a cedi to transport a liter of petrol from Tema to your tank. It really doesn't make sense. And if you unpack that, you will see a lot of settlements and business people being paid, at the expense of the taxpayer. We could optimize that space and create savings for the average consumer. There are some interventions, as we have indicated in the past, like fuel marking, to where we said there's no value in that intervention, and yet over 40 million cedis a month is paid to private people. If we want to make some savings and pass on, optimization for me at this point is what we need, and be able to create some savings that will cushion consumers in this tough times without compromising the interventions that are actually supporting the stability of the power sector.
And that's a very critical point that you make. So we're looking at the cushioning of the consumer, but then those decisions should not also compromise other areas and other interventions as well to sustain the energy sector. Thank you. Let me introduce us joining us now is Dennis Miracle Sabuaji. He is the director of Dr. Mahmoud Obamia campaign, director of communications. Dennis Miracle Sabuaji, it's been a while. You've seen him do some miracles on the shoulder, but thank you very much for joining us this morning.
It's been close to 2 years.
A little over, yes. In fact, a little over a year now, I think. Yes.
Every day it is first, they push. We are back. Good to see you.
Welcome. Also Also joining us is the Chief Executive Officer of the National Petroleum Authority, NPA. And as I mentioned earlier, over the last few weeks, he's been here giving us direct pointers of what their thinking is going forward to cushion the consumer. Godwin Ejiji-Tamaklo, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning to my distinguished analysts. 2 years after Miracle tried collapsing the platform and it didn't happen, it's come to see growth and how we've sustained the platform. So Miracle, you are welcome to such a good conversation. Make your point and we'll make our point. That's all.
Definitely. It's an expression of opinions and divergent views as we have it. Gentlemen, thank you. Anyway, so, Akovi Bento, as indicated, in fact, there was this one city. The reason why I asked Bemboachi about this one city is because that's been the target for many, you know. But then again, he brings in something very important, that the purpose and objective for introducing that particular levy was to deal with a problem. So whereas we're going to cushion the consumer, we should not also be taking decisions that could possibly compromise other aspects of the economy. A good way to look at things?
I absolutely agree with that sentiment. Last week I said something. I said that we have been doing the short-term things, but we don't do the long-term thinking that basically takes away more of the problem. I mean, we just keep reacting. If you ask me, I would say, really, the one city shouldn't have been the problem. Under the circumstance, I can understand. This is the attempt to cushion the economy. Okay, or let's say cushion the consumer. That is short term, cushion the consumer. I've always asked, why do we have a bust margin? Okay, and I have argued against the UPPF anyway. Okay, it's the technical people who understand these things, but I don't think we should be charging people for UPPF. And check what they use the UPPF for. So I think there's a whole need for a revamp or a rethink of our petroleum tax structure. The problem is that the economy doesn't yield that much tax, so there's a lot of money that we look for in the petroleum tax. So one, I agree or I accept that it's a proper thing to do. Last week, we were calling on the government to do something. And last week, we also said that there needs to be thinking about the medium term. So the short term is what I call cushioning the consumer, which is what all of us are saying. And what we need to do is, so what happens after this crisis? We should adjust the petroleum trading economy in Ghana. Okay, readjust it. When I say readjust that, look, there are countries in this world, many countries, who are not necessarily affected every day by the world market of, crude oil, because they produce crude and they refine crude. What it means is that you can produce your own crude, refine your own crude, and decide how much you're going to sell it to your people. Now, it's not easy. The economics of it is very complex, okay? But it is doable. Difficult is not equal to impossible, okay? It is doable. In a fragile economy where petroleum prices really cause all kinds of problems, it's one of the key things we must manage. I put it this way. Managing the petroleum economy is equal to managing the national economy.
Managing the petroleum economy
is equal to managing the national economy. What is going on can affect fuel prices. It will affect everything. It will derail inflation. Okay, so it's a major thing that we need to manage. So I need to see the medium-term thinking about adjusting the petroleum economy. None of that is showing. And we really need to see that. Look, we even need to see a reset of the petroleum economy.
So a reset of the petroleum economy?
Yes.
What do you mean?
Not just adjusting it. Adjusting it means shifting some things. Right now, we produce crude oil.
True.
We ship it all out. We get money, pure money, just dollars for it. And then we buy finished products. We bring it, we sell it. So we leave ourselves exposed to the world market. Every little thing hits us. That is not how smart people organize themselves. And when that happens, you have a situation like what we have now where, look, they announce a ceasefire in the morning. Then the fuel price drops. By evening, the ceasefire is off.
Yes.
And then the fuel price is shaking. And you've just heard that this is not going to affect us in any way. Okay? So we are just being tossed up and down, and all these things are happening. Today, they will take this out. Tomorrow, they won't take it out. We don't know when they will take it out. ADG announces that, okay, we are going to take it out, but we'll take it out next 2 weeks. And there's so much uncertainty. We need to get to a point where we are resetting the petroleum economy, which means we are connecting our crude production to our refineries, and we are using that to manage the fuel economy in the country. I said it's difficult, but it's not possible. It's not impossible. And if it is possible, thinking leaders must sit and think through it and do it. And I said, look, in the past, we have never had the opportunities we have today. Today, we have 2 working refineries in this country. And we have a major refinery just next 2 doors in Nigeria. These 3, if we organize them, they can produce all the finished products we need in this country. In other words, we can organize our crude, organize our refinery, and technically or theoretically cut ourselves away from the international oil market. I'm not being simplistic. I understand that market. What it means effectively is that we may be doing some subsidy, some subsidizing.
Right.
But I say it's possible because, you see, whenever the crude price goes up, we make a windfall. You can take that money. It's money you didn't have, okay?
Right.
And then apply it to what I'm talking about, all right? Whenever finished products, whatever it is, goes up, we make a windfall.
Yeah.
And in managing all of that too, we save money. I mean, there is a give and take. There is some sort of, push and pull, arrangement that can be done. It's not easy, but it is possible. And if it's that serious, we need to take seriously. I do believe that managing the fuel economy, okay, should not only be about cushioning consumers. It should also be about making sure that we adjust in the midterm the petroleum economy and we reset the whole thing in the long term so that we know that, look, in the next 2, 3, 4 years, or maybe even 5, 6, 7 years, we have a certain petroleum economy which gives us maybe 3 months room where we can guarantee prices. Okay, it is difficult, but it is not impossible, and I think it's necessary. It must be done because we have all the pieces in place today in Ghana.
I see, and even though we don't have specifics of the taxes and levies that will be taking off, because already we understand there's some crucial meetings taking place between the ministries of energy and finance to come up with the exact taxes and levies to be taking off. But from where you sit, how soft should be the cushioning? Ms. Gunter.
So myself.
Yeah, quick.
I think the
Before
cushioning.
we go to the big takeaways, yes.
Yes, the cushioning should be of a form that takes us to the status quo ante. What it means is takes us back where we were. Look, there was massive jubilation in this country. The whole economy reacted when fuel prices went down. I could see people writing long Facebook posts about how they went to the petrol station, they bought fuel, and they paid half of what they are used to. There was such euphoria. It's as if Black Stars had won the World Cup. Okay, that tells you how much this means to people. So I think we should go back to that point. The only thing that has shifted right now is this Iran war. What it means is that if we can cushion ourselves against the Iran war, we can shift back to that point. It is possible, yeah? The only one also that affected it, or the other one that affected it, is the dollar or the exchange rate stability. And I think generally we are doing well in that area.
Yeah.
Okay, so again, what we need to do is to do the hard work, hard thinking that sends us back to the point where fuel prices were at the level where people were hailing Eduji and talking about how
we're talking
he's a
about
fantastic
now,
young man.
But he's still a fantastic boy.
No, now they don't like him anymore.
Okay, but if you say the cushioning should take us to this point, that's going to be a lot to
Well,
take off.
it's not
Because
impossible.
then, now we're doing 17 cities, between 15 cities, 69 and 17 for diesel, and between 12, 24, and then 13 cities, 30 pesos for petrol. Prior to this, petrol was selling about 10 cities, 50 pesos thereabout. And you say
it's
cushioning
less
to take
than
us to
3
that
cities
point?
difference, 2 cities and something difference.
Yes, but the total taxes and levies is just about 288.
Take it all off.
3. We should take off all the taxes and
I
levies?
say, look, I remember once there was a finance minister who was asked why we spend so much money on Black Stars. And his response was that when Black Stars wins, the effect on the nation as a whole is better than when inflation drops. There's euphoria, there's joy, there is, and economic activity, even with, so see, there is a lot to give up with this kind of money. And there's a lot more to gain. Okay? There's a lot more to gain. Today, government says that ministers and co will not be taking fuel.
Yes.
Now, it's good signaling. But in the past, it's been said but not observed.
True.
All right? There's a lot of waste still. Look, I see ministers riding LX 570s in this country. And this just happened when he came into power. LX 570s cost an average of $200,000. Okay? Why is that necessary? I still see a lot of waste and all kinds of things going on here. It is possible for them to draw this one off and just keep, the upward momentum in the economy going. So, like I keep saying, it is difficult, but it is not impossible. And in any case, they have just given themselves 2 months or so. So for the next 2 months or so,
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Only 4 weeks. So if 4 weeks you take a small hit, okay, and keep the momentum going in the hope that things are going to stabilize, why can't you do that? Why can't you do that? Especially when they claim that this economy has been so stabilized, has been so well managed, has been this and that and that. Meanwhile, DDEP has taken off a lot of the debt that they were supposed to pay. What I'm saying, all the plenty things I'm saying, is that it is not impossible for them to do, and I think it is necessary for them to do, and they should sit down, do the intellectual hard work, think through it, and do it. Something has to give. I keep saying, why do we need BOSS? If at this time, BOSS cannot have strategic reserves that can be put in the system, okay, and used to manage the pricing, why do we need BOSS? All right? So they should do it. It can be done.
See, no, Dr. Professor, you want to make a point very quickly before I go to...
Yeah, thank you. I hear repeatedly, the sentiment around energy sovereignty in the conversation that my colleague is trying to say here. In fact, we are not energy sovereign as a country because you cannot produce crude oil, export everything, and import back diesel and petrol, which is at a high demand. If you look at the annual report that COMAC published yesterday, 15.2% increase in demand and supply in this country. That's consuming, not what was imported. The world petroleum market is very dynamic, and it is also backed by what we call the petrolytics. And the petrolytics, we have geopolitics playing a role. What we're also discussing here is the fact that you do not control the oil prices internationally. And like he said, today the ceasefire price go down. And like I said yesterday, it went up.
True.
Because they're unable to go freely. I understand Iran is demanding so much money before you pass through.
In fact, the 10-point demands of Iran look quite interesting. So
okay, you are come there. So that did not come out. That did not come out after the ceasefire.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, before the ceasefire.
True.
Now it came after the price are. So prices are very sensitive. Let me also explain something here. Dangote is in Nigeria. One thing we also want to understand is that if we are fully deregulated, let's also know that having a local refinery helps your supply security. And at this moment, we didn't have that problem. Thanks be to God for supply security issues we didn't have. It's a fact. Unlike Kenya, Tanzania, who depended so much on that corridor. We didn't, or we don't. So, when you have your local refinery, it solves your strategic stock, like you mentioned. It solves issue of supply security. But it doesn't really solve pricing. Because Dangote is in Nigeria. The rate at which Nigeria diesel and petrol increase is higher than Ghana. Where is Dangote? Is it in Ghana? It's not. So pricing is another thing. And that's why I am very, very curious to understand what the government is doing about the decision the president has taken. He says, go and touch taxes and margins. To touch margin needs consultation,
Yes.
which I don't think 3 days that can be done.
Somebody's money.
It can be done. To touch tax is a one letter to GRA and MPSA. Take that 1 CD I brought off for just 4 weeks. ENI will not die. IPPs will not die for scrapping that 1 CD for 4 weeks. After all, you'll be taking for how many months? Up to now, you have not even been able to declare how much you've made and what you've used the money for. That's accountability.
For what?
That extra doomsday levy that came.
Okay.
We were here. We were promised that on quarterly basis they'll come and tell us what they've used the money for. As an industry, we are asking the government to come and tell us what the money has been used for. I know what has been used for, but let the public also know.
You know what's being used for.
You understand? Hearsay, it's not directly from anybody, but I hear. And Ben Boche said it, that it's been used to pay for the IPPs and the gas.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I know. But how much has been accrued? Because if the government is not going to touch that money in the coming days, then we need to understand what has been accrued and what has been used for. Now, he's talking about BOST here. BOST mandate, for me, is in a limbo.
What do you mean?
It's in a limbo because there's a school of thought that says that we don't need BOST. There's another school of thought that says we need BOST. And let me tell you, both of them are right. Whether we need or don't need, it's about how you make them important. You understand? And I'm happy the regulator is here because he is our father. Our father is here. He should tell us. I heard someone say you scrap. You said that you should scrap BOST margin. How is BOST going to survive if you scrap BOST margin?
So they shouldn't survive. Have they done what they were set up to do?
I think
You will know. Have they done it?
Since you referred to your father, let me just bring in Godwin Tamaklo on this one. Because some of the recommendations by government may be extreme, in fact. But then again, because if you look at the total taxes and levies, it's just about the almost three cities, right? If you're taking off everything so as to go back to the status quo before this increase, would that be a big ask?
Okay, so so once again, good morning to our cherished viewers and good morning to my colleagues here. My brother Riverson, who is the Chief Executive Officer of COMAC, he has been extremely helpful and cooperative. What we've been trying to do over the past 1 year is to engage, because I've always maintained that knowledge is not in the head of one person. And the most difficult thing to do as a leader is to pretend to be Kwekwanansi, having all the knowledge of the world. And they always come out with some of the most, let me say, brilliant ideas. The downstream petroleum sector itself, like my senior Kofi Bento pointed out, is akin to the Ghanaian economy itself. If you look at the 2023 data where it says about 9%, that's the contribution of the downstream to the entire GDP, 9%. So at a point, even bigger than our Greek.
And bigger than upstream?
Yes.
2 times?
Yes. So it tells you that the downstream petroleum sector is the very engine of the entire economy. And that is why an incident that has happened for barely 2 months has the potential of derailing everything that has been done relative to the economy. And that is how sensitive this matter is. And so I have always adopted a more careful, sensitive approach in having a conversation relative to the downstream. I listened to my senior brother and Kofi Bento makes the point and what should be the case, what ought not to be the case. You know, Senior Kofi, Ghana just didn't start. I recall vividly a conversation I had with the respected John Ato Ahoy, a man arguably who has Ghana's energy blueprint and has worked with it. And he tried, just to let me know the conversations that resulted even in the formation of BOST, and how he approached the then president, former President Rawlings, on the need for a strategic state institution just to keep reserves. That thinking is relevant then and is relevant today.
If they are doing it.
I'm just coming. Over the period, it does appear that there had been some, attempt to dilute, let me say, mandates. So in the past, maybe it was just for strategic storage. The dynamics of other times also brought into fore the critical question whether we should remain a strategic storage, quasi-strategic storage, or it should get involved in trading. And I'll give an example. Between 2014 and 2015, if you recall, there was a major thing that happened in this country that resulted in queues at the stations. At the time it happened, it wasn't the case that there was no product in the country. The BDCs were upset with government and said there were legacy debts because at that time we were providing subsidies. And so when the BDCs go to buy products, they need forex. By the time they come, if there are forex differentials, they want government to absorb that forex differential loss. So before we realized, we had accumulated huge funds in the name of forex differential losses and other under recoveries, and I call it forex differential losses. You understand? So one day they woke up and said, well, even though we have products, if you don't pay us, we won't release the product. So government at that time said, look, the idea, in fact, it was a national security concern, that the idea where private people can hold the state to ransom can't compromise national security. In fact, in Angola, fuel price shortage nearly resulted in a change in government. There was demonstration, and in fact, 21 or so people died in that process. So the idea of fuel is so critical, and no government can play with it. So at that time, leadership response was that, okay, why not? Beef up BOST. Let BOST go into the actual idea of trading and not only storage. Buy the product. If you buy the product, at least it will minimize the impact of the private sector holding everything. It was a leadership response to a crisis. Then 8 years came. It's been so. The status quo has remained. And that is what we have today.
Up to now.
And so BOST remains a strategic intervention in the petroleum downstream. Please, anybody that tries to, as it were, discredit the continuous relevance of BOST is playing the ostrich game and does not understand the current dynamics in our petroleum architecture. When President Kufuor decided at that time to have the works, what today we call, at that time it was called Petroleum Tender Review Board. And through that, set up what is now called the National Petroleum Authority in 2005. It was almost a part of the mandate of the Energy Commission at that time. They were running that role. And then it was now set up as a whole authority. And that is what we have today. At that time, a new architecture was introduced called the Bulk Oil Distribution License, the BIDEC license. It's relevant, you cannot, because at that time, you know it, they were doing on-the-spot emergency cargo purchases. That was also bringing its own debt accumulation on the books of government.
True.
And so everything that has happened in this country was either to solve a mischief, economically, politically, or what have you. So please, in terms of the architecture, this is what has brought us here. Look, what is also not in doubt. Look, for 8 solid years, BOST couldn't increase its tankage, storage, by 1 more liter. Yes. Today.
For 8 years, within which period are you talking about?
I'm just saying for 8 years.
Okay.
What is not also in doubt is that by reason of geography, all our discharge facilities, incidentally, are coastal, either Takoradi or Tema. Regrettably for Takoradi, we've not been able to increase our storage facilities in Takoradi. So you have a good, depth and everything, but you can't even berth bigger vessels, because then the question of storage comes in. Regrettably, instead of the state intervening to build those storage, because the private person, where he puts his money, he wants immediate return.
True.
But the state has a responsibility to ensure greater public good. So you don't necessarily invest because of the returns. You sometimes invest because of tomorrow. So significantly, we have been depending on a private person, I think Blue Ocean also, to provide us critical storage in the Western Corridor. Why should that be so?
That's what Boss should have been doing.
So the point I'm making is that it's somebody's responsibility, and for 8 years nothing happened. But I'm saying that today, as we speak, through the proactive, leadership of my brother Afechi, that's one of the areas we want to look at. Keep the storage there, not necessarily for consumption today. Look, when this Iran crisis happened, the International Energy Agency, which deals with, there are two, International Energy Commission and the agency, the one that deals with petrol and others, decided that they will raise 400 million barrels of crude into the system to contain the shocks. US gave 122 million. Japan, South Korea did 22 million. And other countries contributed. That brought about 400 million. That's about thinking into tomorrow. Regrettably, we have not been able to do that. And also because today, the SIGA and all those people expect boss to declare profits. Yes. If you expect me to declare profit, then I can't store. I need to trade.
Okay. So I think
look, we are on boss. Just on what he ended. Let's say you make your point.
Yes, because I have to come
boss
to Miracles.
is now expected to declare profit. Meanwhile, if you look at for strategic stocks and all that is confused policy making. That is number one.
No, but the originalist view was that it should be a strategy story.
I'm coming.
But with the benefit of time and changing circumstances, things have changed.
It's over 30 years old. It was set up supposedly to make sure we have strategic stocks to help us through troubled times. It's never done that. Never. One. Two, you creep in your mission to go to now competing on the market and selling products. Meanwhile, we taxpayers, poor people, rich people, everybody, pays every day we buy fuel to finance you, boss, to go and trade something that people are doing with their own capital and making profit. And they make serial losses. So you are supposed to do strategic stocks. We're giving you money. You've never been able to do it. Two, you say you are not going to trade. We give you money to go and trade. You trade, you make losses. Every time boss is in the news, it's because there's been some corruption, fuel, contamination, or whatever it is. And today, as we speak, he's telling us that boss is not able to do his job. Meanwhile, we are paying money. And we are looking for ways to reduce the fuel price, something that has not worked for 30 years. And every time they are in the news, it's about corruption. We are basically contributing and people are putting it in their pockets. We lose nothing by losing a failed institution that consistently makes losses. So if we are looking for a place to cut boss.
You mean the boss margin?
I think
we've never.
Hold on. I think this is your interpretation.
Have we ever
Just 1 minute. Just 1 minute.
After 30 years?
Yes.
Like I pointed out, it's a very evolving and fluid environment. And so usually I do not want the conversation to be binary.
30 years of experience.
Loss or profit. If you put the conversation within the framework of loss and profit, you lose it. What is also not in doubt is that the role of boss today is critical.
They've never achieved
it. It's critical.
It
boss remains a strategic state intervention in the petroleum downstream. Any Any other person that gives an alternative theory cannot or does not appreciate what the real issues are. But you see, it's convenient to say that, oh, but the private people are able to bring the products, but the state is the one financing boss to do whatever it has
make
to
losses.
do. And then at the end of the day, it is making losses. I mean, it's a convenient conversation
It is
to
the
have.
facts.
Very convenient.
Okay.
But there still remain a strategic state intervention in what happens within the downstream. I will not sit here and belittle the work that BOST is doing for our downstream.
Okay.
It remains a relevant thing. What may be the problem is that the originalist thinking may possibly have seen some variation, but it does not make it an entity that is irrelevant.
Okay, Miracles. So you see, the extent of the cushioning is where obviously consumers will be looking at, and that's why already all the strategic positioning of BOSS is important, because this threat that what is happening to the price of petroleum products at the pumps poses to the economy is known. It's evident. We're already seeing it, and the inflationary risks is clearly upon us. What is the expectation of you regarding the specific interventions of the cushioning that government is talking about will be put in place in a few days?
Well, Alfred, for me, I think that the lessons to be drawn out of all of these, before I even come to the issues, is that maybe this will be the starting point for EDUG, myself, and all other stakeholders to begin to halt politicization of war, weaponizing it for political benefits. The NDC today are saying everything and doing everything to either try to justify, try to rationalize, try to make sense of, the situation. But it's something that they agree that whilst in opposition, largely, they weaponize to their benefit. I mean, this is just 3 weeks of war. 3 weeks. Alfred, 3 weeks of war. And we've seen fuel price, petrol move from, some were selling at 9 cedis. At some point, Star Oil and Co, 9.9, and so let's say 10 cedis. Move to 13.3, 14 cedis. Diesel hitting 17 cedis. If, like Comac said, if Mr. Trump decides to, say something again tomorrow, we could wake up on Wednesday or Thursday with diesel hitting 20 cedis and 19 cedis. We need to admit that our level of control as a country over these petroleum prices is very minimal, so that we can get everybody along. So that when we are having these conversations, you don't have government functionaries being on a defensive and opposition functionaries going on the attack. I think this conversation in the past 2 weeks have been had extensively, and I really don't want to belabor it. I mean, Japan Mesa was here last week. He made some very fantastic points, which for me should trigger the NDC and government today and say that never again would we go on the path we went when we were in opposition. I listened to Felix, the government communications minister, and anytime I listen to him speak, I realize that my friend is still in opposition mood and doesn't realize what time it is. For you to even today, the situation we face, try to make any argument and point that, oh, this government has done well, we've managed it better. You've done nothing. As a matter of fact, we are on autopilot. We are on autopilot. See, if you go and look at even 2022, which they continuously use, and look at now, what we say is this: go and take the 2022 figures, Alfred, and ask yourself, when the war broke out somewhere in February 2022, what was the situation then? And what is the situation now? So let's look at this analysis quickly. On 24th February 2022, Russia-Ukraine war starts. Very light notes, like, the way Israel has started. They started bombing. Now, at the time, diesel was 7.99 a liter. By 3rd April, diesel had moved from 7.99 to 10.20. That is about 28% increase within the period, which is between 24th February and 3rd April of war. Now, all this time, crude was selling between 117 and 130 per barrel. Let's look at the current situation. On 28th February, and it's interesting, the dates on which this war starts. Russia-Ukraine started on 24th February. This started on 28th February, 2026. Now, between 28th February 2026, when the war on Iran started, the price of diesel in Ghana was 11.34. On the 3rd of April 2026, the price of diesel has moved from 17.70 to 17.70. That is 56% increase. So you see, if you're a government communications officer and you come and sit on radio or TV, and for propaganda value, even when you are supposed to drive all of us together to build a nation, you say, no, don't mind them. We've built the economy better, and that is why fuel is hovering. You are completely misleading the public. Because if we are to take the war within the same period of Russia, Ukraine, and Iran, and Israel, America, the Akufo-Addo government actually managed the fuel pricing better within that period than you are. Really? 28% between 24th February to 3rd April of increase, and 56% between 28th February and now of increase. And then relative to the crude prices, today, crude prices within that period, the period I've been given in 2026 was between $100 to $110. But the Russian-Ukraine period, crude prices were hovering between 117 to 130. All I am saying is that if you want us to do propaganda, if you wanted to use data to look politically good, you have had only just a month of war. We haven't tested you yet. And if we are to use your performance now in a month to do anything, then we are in trouble if this war festers like Russia, Ukraine did.
Am I permitted to?
No, I beg you. I beg you. No, don't.
You will respond.
You have your chance. I have things I'll respond to you. You just note it. I'm just giving you data. And the point is that data can be skewed to make the argument as convenient as you want.
Are you doing that?
No, yes, I am. But
I mean, are you skewing data?
No. I am using the data for convenient analysis. And that's the point I was making to you, that the government communications minister should not go there. That is the point I am trying to make. That if I am to go on the tangent that a government communications minister has gone, then trust me, we can sit here the whole day and nobody will win this argument. Because we can pick the data and make it look good on all of us. And they can make an argument. One of the best arguments the government can make, which is fact, is that the forex is looking really good. And that if the forex is probably at 14 or 13, maybe we would even be selling diesel today at 20 and not be waiting for next week or 22. That is also very true. But again, that is the point I am making. Using data for convenient argument without substance. Now let me come to the substantive issue. Listen, people are suffering. Alfred, nobody should attempt to gaslight the people of this country. There are difficulties. Go out there and go and check. Industries are struggling. For some companies in this country, go to Damang. You know, even though we have gas and all of that, most of them are still using petrol and diesel to power their plants and power their factories. So even 2 pesos of increase in fuel affects industries. And once these industries are impacted, they are passing it on to consumers. So the reality cannot be lost on us. And so I like Eduji's conversation this morning. Let's stick to that. That is progressive. Do not let us encourage the tangent with which the government communications minister goes. Because if he does, we'll get nowhere. We'll move in circles. What the government has done after everybody calling on them and drawing their attention, it's fantastic. They said, we need to intervene. That is what governments do. I mean, remember at some point in 2021, the MPP government suspended some levies on petroleum prices. It's been done before. And so if this government says we are going to do that, we encourage it. The problem is that as we speak, we don't know what government's intervention is. They've only said that the energy minister and the finance minister should go and look for how and what they can do it. So at the moment, there is very little we can even hold on to when it comes to the outcome of the cabinet meeting, except that we know for sure government would intervene. Now, what are the interventions? How impactful would they be? How relevant, significant would they be? Those are very important things. And I keep hearing people talk about this doomsday levy, one city doomsday levy. At the onset, if you all recollect, when this doomsday levy was being introduced, the primary object was to buy fuel to power our plants. That is what they said. That is what the government told us. Today, it's as if that has been relegated to the background, and everything you hear is people saying sector debt, sector. But there are several components in our fuel pricing that is also geared towards paying for energy sector debt. Now, let me even draw your attention to a very interesting thing. If you pick the Energy Commission's own report, EDUG, it says that close to about 97% of our plants today are being powered by natural gas. It's in their report. Yeah. It is there. And then the interesting thing is that PURC has already made provision for natural gas procurement in the electricity tariffs that we are paying. What they call the weighted cost of gas. WACOG. We are already paying it when we pay for electricity bills. So if somebody asks you that, okay, can we get a report on how much the one city has given us? And then we get a report on how much the weighted average cost of gas that we are paying for has given us, it is fair. Because you see, Lawyer Bento, the problem I have is this. When I pay for my electricity, I have paid for the fuel that should power your plants. Now you are telling me that 97% of the fuel that you use to power the plant is from the gas. When you pick the PURC report, it says that the expected revenue from even the WACOG is about $7 billion. Ben Boache is telling us that we need about $70 million every month to buy fuel.
So it's catered for.
That's what I heard him, unless maybe I was wrong. Yes. So it's catered for. So if you are getting all this money from us from our electricity tariffs, and you are still collecting one cedi from us from fuel, come on. It is only fair that by now you come and tell us that in the past 12 months, this is how much we've generated from the one cedi levy. This is how much we've generated from WACOG. This is how much we've required to buy fuel. This is how much we've used to pay our debt. How much of our debt is even left?
And how long will this one cedi be?
Exactly. And Alfred, I heard you make a point initially about, one city is going to pay debt, this government inherited debt. Listen. No, you didn't say anything wrong. Don't worry. You didn't say anything wrong.
I'm only telling you specifically what is.
I heard you.
You outlined the objectives.
I heard you. You didn't say anything wrong. You didn't say anything wrong. But the fact is that the energy sector debt is a legacy problem. Yeah. It is legacy. Go and check how much the previous government in 8 years paid for energy sector debt. The more you pay, the more ECG is bringing upon you.
Yeah.
So the real situation is not how much the government is paying and how much we are realizing. The real situation is, as we are paying this one cedi to pay debt, what is being done on the ECG side? Yeah. Because the energy minister, when he was in opposition, told us in plain terms that when he comes in the first 100 days, he was going to fix ECG. He's on video, I have it. He said in the first 100 days, he will fix it. And that's not rocket science. So I am expecting a report that will tell me that, hey, our energy sector debt that we have been recurrently producing has been plugged. It's no longer a basket. Now we have been receiving some one cedi that has been paying. So it was 19 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion, but we've paid 4 billion. It's left with 16 billion. We can all even agree to make a projection and know when we can finish paying without our debt and take off this doomsday levy. We need to put politics aside.
RTI on WACOG.
You understand? Put politics aside, Alfred. No politics here. Because for me, I know, and I keep saying it, governments will change even if you put gold on the road for us. It has nothing to do with. We don't need the NDC to fail before we come to power. When it is time for a change of government, it's about where we are as a country, what the various candidates are saying, what the vision is. The people will listen to them and say, well, based on where we are, I believe Mr. Bill Riverson has the ideas to take us to the next level. Not necessarily because NDC failed.
Yep.
So I am not expecting the NDC to fail. For me to come and sit here and say, they need to fail, the energy say, I don't want them to fail. I want fuel prices to come down. If fuel prices comes down and NDC takes the credit, it means nothing to me. It doesn't mean that NDC would automatically win the next elections because they brought fuel down. No. The next election will be based on where we are, which of the candidates is espousing the vision that will take us to the next level. So I beg you, and I'm using this to call on Felix especially, he's the one causing the problem. Churning out.
He's not here.
No, but he's a government communications leader. He's a public officer. Please, he's a public officer.
I'm just
he has a right
indicating to you that. Yes,
but we mention John Mahama all the time.
Yes. So.
He's a government communications. I'm saying that he should tone down on the propaganda. Leave propaganda to opposition parties.
Yeah.
As government in power, I'll end. I'll just end soon. As government in power, your job is to make sure that we are in a crisis. How do you bring relief to the people so that ultimately the people will have some respite? But as we speak and as I land, walk on the street of Kanda, everybody's home, the meter is beeping. They cannot afford to pay. Go to the market, cost of living is high. Go to our tertiary institutions, school fees have increased. The reality is that if fuel prices also goes up and we don't put it under control, people will struggle in this country, industries will collapse, jobs will be lost, and people cannot survive. And so we need to keep our eyes on the ball and get the government to quickly, get it done. Now, finally, on the government announcement after the cabinet, again, I beg you, what is the meaning of we continue to encourage, we are continuously admonishing political appointees that the ban against fuel coupon is still in force? Eduji, Charlie, why? We have all been in government. Eduji seated here. If tomorrow he has to travel to go to Tor and go and look at what is going on Tor, Eduji will not use his money, his salary, to buy fuel into his car.
How do you know that?
Well, he won't. It's not how do I know, he won't. But why if government said then the government...
Here?
No, but which money is he going to use that?
It's even law.
Which money is he going to use to do that?
The company sends you, the
which
company
money
pays for it.
So that is pure populism. What is the meaning of that? Listen, when you are in government, nobody comes to you in the morning and say, this is fuel coupon for you and your wife. Nobody does that. You have been given an official vehicle. That official vehicle is what you use for official functions. That vehicle is fueled. And as we speak, in spite of the so-called ban from last year, every government official has their official vehicles fueled by the states. Nobody can come out and tell me otherwise. Even their own budget has it there, budgeted for. How do you budget for something you claim you banned?
There's a budget line for
fueling. It's in the budget.
Vehicles.
It's there in the budget. It's there.
It's in the 2026.
Go and read it. Yes, it's there. Now, how do you, and why would you even do that? Comac, Mr. Richardson, which government would pass a budget or plan and say, I am not planning for fuel for government officials? Government will come to a ground. Because when you go to the Ministry of Energy, you have just 2 or 3 political appointees. The rest are technical people. They are using state fuel to move around. Then when it comes to John Jinapo, you say, as for you, I've given you a ban. You won't use fuel. But the interesting thing, which maybe they are still playing smart, is that when you read it, it says fuel coupons. So maybe fuel cards from Go card is not part, because that one is a coupon.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? The point is, they should save us the populism. He didn't need to even add that to the cabinet release, because that is irrelevant. That fuel coupon thing has nothing to do with the fuel pricing and the intervention that we're expecting government to bring. And then ultimately, there is nothing like a ban on fuel coupon, because everybody, including Felix himself and all the people he has at his ministry, are drawing on state fuel as we speak.
Well, there are a number of things that you said, which I wanted you to respond to.
But why are you letting me? So did I respond to him? Would I respond to?
Wait. I'll respond to ask questions of government. And he's the one sitting here in that capacity. Yes.
I need to play 2 roles here. I'm here as Felix Kwachi as well.
Look at that.
I think it's important to make this point. First of all, my brother relies on an Energy Commission purported report on how we're going to have a heavy reliance on gas. If you look, as early as 2025, June, Minister Jinapo had already given an indication that that Energy Commission report was problematic and disputed it. The record today does not show 95% reliance on gas.
But the Energy Commission is their job.
But that's what I'm saying, that this report was prepared in 2024, projection into 2025, and the minister disputed it in June 2025. So you cannot continue to, in fact, if you are giving me an update actual today, then it becomes more reliable to do. But you see, this morning, my brother started by creating the impression that finally patriotism is a relevant political attribute. And so we should do a conversation that is not about politics. But he ended up doing politics. Governments are elected, or political parties go into election, first and foremost, with a social contract. That social contract is sold to the people. The people evaluate two competing ideas and will pick it. I am not old enough, but I think I've witnessed Ghana a bit. Many years ago, finance ministers will be the one who would declare what the price of petroleum products should be. I grew up listening to radio. And then we'll be waiting for Minister Kwan Pepra, Kwesi Botwe and Co. to tell us that fuel will be sold at so and so price. And that will be the price. We lived that generation before. And then we know what is happening. I lived at the time when one of Ghana's foremost legislators, J.H. Mensah, on the campaign platform in the year 2000, with a gallon of petrol, ask the people of this country, are you able to afford? So petrol politics had really been part of Ghana's political conversation, no doubt. I also recall candidate Akufo-Addo in 2016, not too long ago, made the strong point that Yebaba Beteso, and then we hailed him. Then he comes. It went to 23. My brother Miracle says, oh, what is the data? And that, oh, if you pick February 24th, when the Russia-Ukraine, first of all, the Russia-Ukraine war has not stopped. For the avoidance of that, it has not stopped. It's ongoing. That's for the record.
It has been priced in already.
Please,
I beg you. I'll respond though. Because he spoke and responded, so I also respond. Just take note. No, but you have to take note. You know me, now will not happen.
Two things my brother decided to do this morning. First, make sweeping statement. Companies in Tema are suffering.
They're not sweeping, they're fast.
Please. Then he proceeds. Cost of living had gone up. Miracle. Sometimes sincere politics actually endears you to people. That's a fact. I knew a senior lawyer who had voted MPP throughout. By 2022-2024, this senior lawyer was telling me how he was struggling to pay the fees of his niece doing medicine abroad because of the dollar. Today, that senior lawyer is seeing great relief, and you are still talking about people going through living conditions. But you see, let me make this point. At the time of the Russia-Ukraine war, yes, crude prices actually went up. It went up at a point to $122 per barrel. But you see, what you are not telling the good people of this country, and he knows and he understands the dynamics, it is not only crude that goes into pricing. You also look at suppliers' premium and many other components. So you will notice that even at the time, say, and I'll use this period, 1st November to 15th November 2022, if you needed to buy 1 metric ton of diesel, it costs $1,222 for every metric ton. Why was it so? It was so because when it comes with logistics disruption among others. But what is not in doubt is that at the time of Russia-Ukraine, the Strait of Hormuz was never closed. That's a fact. Today, and I'll give you this example again. As we speak, before this war started, Alfred, a metric ton of diesel was going for $695 for every metric ton. Yesterday, when I checked, it is 1,334. 1,334.
Up from
695 to 1,334. Twice the price. That has never happened under you. It never happened. Even during the Russia-Ukraine. That's a fact. Because you see, the cost of refining the product is different. I'll give you another example. Before the war, the supplier's premium was $20. He's here. Today, the supplier's premium is $170 to $200. $170 to $200. That is the supplier's premium as we speak. So see
up from the $20.
From $20 as at 28th February, today it is $170 to $200. And anybody that understands petroleum trading will tell you that the supplier premium is a major one. And usually the determining factors, one, insurance, availability of vessels. So for instance, if you have a situation where there is this closure on the Strait of Hormuz, and the Iranian government says, for instance, we have mined the waters. You don't want to put your vessel that is costing $100 million through that. So the insurance you'll be paying will go up. Two, because of the risk, you don't have a lot of vessels willing to use that. So all this put together will increase the price. That was never the case under Russia-Ukraine war. Two, if you look, the highest price we have ever seen for petroleum pricing in the last few, let me say 5 years, was what happened at the first pricing window, Tuesday, November 1st, 2022, where petrol went for 17 cedis and diesel traded for 23.45 Ghana cedis in this country. That's the highest. What created the problem at that time was that the Ghana cedi at that time, incidentally, was doing 17.20. Alfred, 17.20. Now, are we saying by any stretch of argument, that it is not the responsibility of government to control the exchange rates? Is that the argument? So that if a set of persons with all their skill sets have the benefit of managing the exchange rates and they take it to 17.20, it matters not. I remember vividly, there was a time when one of our political leaders said, "Na Ghana cedi no, aye hata hata. And anything I may first our branch here, normal boy, normal cedi ni yede." Those conversations, we've had it here before. In fact, the reason why some governments in the past were described as incompetent was because of exchange rates. You remember the theory, when in doubt, observe the exchange rate. It is true today, it is true now. The point I am making is that governments deliberate by deploying several policy skill sets, policy interventions, have resulted in a situation where the exchange moved somewhere from 15 at a point to even 9, and now we are dealing with almost 10.95, 11. That's government deliberate work.
It was on there.
It is not fanciful. It is not wishful thinking. It is not the product of people just wishing. No. People sat down, thought outside the box. People sat in rooms, discussed, cabinet, among others. And this is the product. My brother Kofi here, one of the things that he's used this platform to propagate is the fact that Governor Esiama committed great errors for diversifying our good reserve. Has he not done that using this platform? And I'm sure you'll do that today too.
The governor has invited him.
No, I'm just saying
I think we've dealt with that matter.
But I'm saying that, please, but I'm saying that it is policy choice. Others had the opportunity and said, look, we would keep it, would just accumulate it. Others also came and said, no, we can build But then, who benefits? Ultimately, it should be the Ghanaian. So if I diversify, it will shore up my reserve, cushion the ordinary people. We do know, and he here will tell you, he's independent-minded. Ghana is a net importer of petroleum products. That's a fact. It doesn't matter how you want to look at it. You can't color it politically. We are a net importer of petroleum products. Any country that is a net importer of petroleum products knows that your biggest headache will be forex dynamics. And so a deliberate attempt by government to resolve the forex problem cannot be wishful thinking. It is deliberate government intervention. Even today, we all do know that petroleum prices, because it moved from 695 for a metric ton to 1,300, that is double. We should be selling the price double at the pump. Please, I'm coming. I'm just saying.
That's not the only thing that goes into the determination.
No, that is why I'm telling you that the other ones have been held by the government. It is true government intervention.
Which calculation?
So there are three.
You know the econometrics. I didn't do poorly in the econometrics.
You did very well. That's why I'm surprised.
No, so that is why you should. No, that is why you should. We can the voodoo mathematics. Let me conclude.
Because Dr. River, I want to understand.
I'll just conclude on this.
The metrics that
we have never weaponized fuel for our politics.
Who is that? Who is speaking?
We have never. What we have done at that time is to keep government on its toes, and nothing stopped Miracle from doing same to me. And I've always maintained that every serious government needs a serious opposition and not rabble-rousing. That should be the distinction. We need a serious opposition. What is not in doubt is our brother's record. It is still fresh in our minds, regrettably.
What are you talking about?
Please, I will say this. See, Minister John Jinapo, my sector minister, has demonstrated remarkable leadership in that sector. Look, the activities of ECG today, even the full implementation of the cash waterfall mechanism alone, do you know that there was a time in this country that the World Bank guarantee 500 million Ghana cedi was drawn down under your administration, completely drawn down. Today we have built that. You think it's wishful thinking? That's leadership. And when you draw down a World Bank guarantee, it impacts on your international credibility. You destroy Ghana's credibility, to the point that even for the purposes of our economy, the major rating agencies, what did they do to us? Junk. So when people are demonstrating clear efforts.
This was going to be your last one.
Yes, so that Dr. Riverson will come in.
Yes.
And we'll have the opportunity to deal with the direct intervention to make things better for us.
That's what because that's really at the heart of this particular issue. Earlier, there was a reference to the cost that you and the BDCs have had to incur as a result of what is happening now. Confirm this for me when it comes to insurance. I think last week, Mr. Bento, there was this reference to insurance cost. How much insurance cost has increased as a result of this war, from about $60,000 to about $1 million?
It's extremely high. In fact, insurance was the reason why the ships were not going through, because
it's the major one.
The insurance companies basically pulled the insurance or made it so high, So insurance was.
President Trump decided to give $20 billion guarantee that if you can still go in and something happen. But even the companies didn't take that
$20 billion.
It was a risk.
and that also has to do with those trading at that area. So even though insurance cost went up, it had to do with those trading.
Of global
exactly.
supply.
So let's not make it general.
20%.
Okay. You remember when you called me to come on this show yesterday?
Yes.
I asked you, is it going to be political or is it going to be... And you said that it will be political.
It's
So you do it. Myself,
80% of your industry is politically controlled.
It's political. everywhere in the world.
Why? Is it
The man who is your regulator is political.
Is it the street of Homo?
The man
Is it
here.
the street of
The man
Homo?
here is political.
Is it the street of Homo? I remember the street of Homo.
I remember very well. Yeah. This is my last submission because I have to go and lecture. Yeah, I have to go and lecture. In fact, I was supposed to leave 1 hour ago.
But you alone, you are chief executive, you are lecturer. Why? Why?
Educated people.
Oh,
So
see this
so
man.
they don't talk anyhow. You understand? So, see, on the 15th of March, when the chamber announced the expected outcome of fuel, I knew such conversation would come. And I said that emphatically, even on your show here and other shows, that we should not politicize this case. So I'm happy my brother here started that, let's not politicize, but then he went deeper. You know, but you're so reacted, so it's fine. I don't know you're so good. So that's when I leave.
Why not?
But you see, both of them are right. And I'm telling you, so like he said, they can do this banter for the whole day, and nobody will win, nobody will lose. The facts he mentioned, Eddie said, are true. There were freight issues that are affecting prices today. That Russian war didn't have that issue. Okay, so the global price is dynamic. It's not just you hear Platt or Brent going up that will determine the crude oil prices.
Right.
And also to correct Eddie that. It will not necessarily, I mean, the price of Platt will not necessarily transpose into double of the...
He knows it.
Because it's only 70% of the entire 100% pump price.
So, but who never says so?
He knows what you said. He knows it.
So I'm telling you that, but for
But
the
for what?
CD, we should be paying double.
No, that is not true.
Okay,
You
that's
understand?
okay.
So
Now
you
I understand. Now so I'm just correcting certain things here, okay?
You know, journalists are permitted to ask questions.
Because I think I am the only person that can speak my mind to both of them
Yes, sir.
freely and go away. The issue of ECG. 2020, we built under the World Bank supervision with Deloitte the cash waterfall mechanism, which was working brilliantly until ECG started not to pay. ECG had different accounts and we're declaring only one account. So all this debt wouldn't have been there if ECG had played its part. So let's face facts. Now, gas to power today is 55%, like he said. So, and hydro is doing 35% of our electricity mix. So, where is the fuel for electricity going? You know, so easy. I have worked in the power sector. I mean, when we worked on the quarterly adjustments for PLC in those days. And with the World Bank, we brought the cash waterfall mechanism as part of the modelers, the economics on that project. So, for me, all the fuel costs, transmission costs, transportation costs, delivery costs are all part of ECG price. And today, I believe that probably the Minister of Finance is using the 1 CD to pay debt. Fine, come and tell us you're using it to pay debt, but not to contribute to what is happening today. So that has to do with the power side. Now, if the government is saying that we should reduce some taxes and levies, let's understand that Ghana is not the only country that is doing so. Other countries have done it. Let me tell you, 5 countries, including Gambia, Zambia, have given 50% off relief to consumers. So it will not be news that government of Ghana is saying that I bought 1 CD, I'm taking it out. We actually expect him to do that. And if coming Monday that is not done,
and
we'll
that's
be shocked.
the expense of the objectives for which this was introduced.
It is just 4 weeks. Alfred, the government says 4 weeks. 4 weeks.
It's the initial period. I think that the context for that 4-week period is the initial period of this cushioning, and a further assessment will be made. I think that's the
depending on the how the war
Yes.
will churn out. That is fine. So we are here. Gambia has done it. Zambia has done it. So we want to see taxes, some of the taxes being removed, like Mr. Bento said. But for me to touch margins and levies, demand stakeholder engagement, proper one. So I'm telling indirectly my brother Eduji that we don't want to come here on Monday and see things we don't want to see. Minister of Finance, please, 1 CD, take it off and let's go. Now, my last point, bust is needed. and I thank my brother Gigi for giving us the history. Boss today is helping zonalization. Let me tell you, when I came on the seat, I was one of the people who was fighting against zonalization. He's aware, maybe he has said it. Yeah. The previous government, I was fighting Mustafa that zonalization must be scrapped, boss must be scrapped, until I understood the essence of it. I had a board meeting, and we voted. 90% voted for zonalization to be kept. So I had to keep quiet.
What does it do for ordinary people? What is zonalization?
So, zonalization is to help unified petroleum pricing policy. That's to do with the UPPF. So that I don't need to...
Which you are paying for.
Which you are paying for. So I don't need to...
So what is boss' job?
Boss' job today is to transport the fuel to the nearest
Why
consumer
are we paying
point.
UPPF and doing that at the same time?
That is helping us to relieve the funds instead of people claiming. Because if you take from Tema to...
So depot to depot.
So if if you take from Tema to North, now UPPF claim will be higher. They have to increase the UPPF. You understand?
So sorry.
So
it's
now,
for education purposes.
if I pay from Kumasi, I'll pay rather into the.
Yes.
So if I pay from Kumasi to the environment, I will pay into the fund. In fact, I'll be paying into the fund. So if I pay from Tema, then I'll claim from the fund.
For the sake of the public, we are paying a tax called UPPF.
Yeah.
It's supposed to even prices across the country.
Correct.
You are also saying that boss is doing something to even prices across the country. Is that what?
No, so there's a boss function in the UPPF.
Good. I said we are paying UPPF, which has a purpose of making prices even across the country.
Yeah.
Okay. If boss didn't exist, UPPF would be able to do that job. You are saying that boss reduces the UPPF claim.
Yes.
But boss is making losses.
That's do their trading aspect.
You see, so boss is making losses, all right, and supposedly doing something that UPPF should be doing. If boss were not there, if boss were not there, the losses will not be there, and UPPF will take care of the price stabilization.
Well, this is a deeper conversation, and for me, I don't expect us to take this hasty decision in these 3 days as we're moving to the 16th of April. Let's look at what we can do easily by taking that one CD off. All these conversations, like my brother said, let's have this conversation in a room and come up with a holistic solution, which I agree with you.
That is a medium-term issue.
Medium-term issue.
Not now.
But in short term, please let's not attack institutions and operations. Then when things go down, my brother Duji will call us, like non-politically. So my brother, you should also be in that meeting. So please, you should be there.
Riverson is using some technical terms, which I think we should break down.
So when you meet, here again,
Doc is saying in this short term, and I've said the short term is consumer cushioning.
Yes.
He said, let us not attack institutions. What he's saying is that his people have a margin in the price buildup, and the government is proposing to reduce their margin. The technicality of what is, I want him to tell me whether I'm lying.
Is that what it is?
Let me finish. And he's saying that if you reduce my margin, I'm a private company, you can't take my money by fiat. So you have to come and sit down with me, agree with me whether you will reduce my money and how much of it you reduce. And he has used the word attacking institutions. In other words, if you go ahead and reduce my margin, he will see it as an attack on him. You understand? So far, correct?
Indirectly, yes, but then you see the government...
So be direct.
Yeah, so the government does not control the margins of OMCs. However, due to price war, I can tell you for a fact, with due respect, you are right in this regard that our margins are being derailed. Because today, if you look at the tax and levies, they contribute to 20 to 25% of the fuel price at the pumps. Where the SRF, like Edudi said, is taking 70, sometimes 75%. We are struggling to take 3 to 5% margin at the pumps because of this price war. Because everybody needs to sell.
In other words, you are resistant to any effort to reduce your margins.
Of course. For the industry's sake.
Okay.
Yes. So, thank you.
But you should know why. If the private person also...
Very briefly on this.
You know the danger to the
on the bit about the cushioning, which is important.
So, Alfred, before Council Bento comes in, you see, I keep talking about how data is manipulated and all of that. Listen, everything Eduji said about the Russian-Ukraine war, Iran-Israel war conversation is completely misleading.
What do you mean?
There is a a specific comparative analysis we are doing. You can only do it contextualizing it within the same period.
So context.
Oh, I beg you.
No, I say so.
You
context.
don't go and pick a war that had run for 12 months in November or 11 months, November 2022, implication, and come and compare it to an analysis that we are doing for you in 3 months. The point I'm making here is this, and it's fact. Between February 24th, 2022 to April 2022, the fuel pricing increase was just about 28%. At a time when crude oil price was over $120. The fact is that today, even with the sexiest of exchange rates that we have, in 3 weeks, or take it as between 24th February 2026 and April, as we speak, your fuel price have increased by 56%. With crude oil way lower than it was in 2022 within the same war period. Think about it. This is even at a time when
don't let him.
This is stop interrupting me. Don't do that.
No,
I'm just giving you figures.
No, you are confusing.
Energy. You know when you're speaking, I was giving you a lot of respect. Don't do that.
Please, don't do that.
Don't do that.
You are intervening. That's all you.
Okay, thank you. Can I continue now? Now, Kaso, let me continue giving you the information.
Yeah, sure.
Now, in Iran, the Strait of Hormuz, and whatever that is going on there, we are talking about 20%.
Okay.
20% of the crude supply.
Yes.
The Russian-Ukraine war, Russia alone contributes about 30% of the global crude supply. And let me blow your mind. Russia's crude was sanctioned. So if he tells you that, ships were moving, it is a lie. Russia's crude was sanctioned. What it means is that 30% of global crude supply was cut off.
Yeah.
And these are even areas that we trade more than we even do through the Strait of Hormuz. So don't let us attempt to try and use numbers to mislead anybody in the conversation. The implication of Russia-Ukraine war on Ghanaian economy is way more than it is from Iran. That does not mean. That does not mean.
You want to give yourself comfort for your incompetence.
That does not mean. That does not mean that. That does not mean that this government has done that. And again, you see, and I've said it. I even said it from the get-go that I have always said that I give every credit to the government when it comes to the exchange rate performance. Whatever it is, the fact that they are using their gold purchase program, which was introduced by Baumia, whatever it is, they are doing it. And it's giving results. But think about it. My final point. Think about it. How is it that you have managed exchange rate so well? And it is at 10.99. And yet, crude oil is way lower than it was during Russia-Ukraine war. But diesel today is higher, more expensive than it was at the time that you came to. That is the question you should be asking yourself.
Yeah. Okay.
Those are the things that we should be asking. What is happening? You are telling us, and please, I'll end. You are telling us that it is crude, it is exchange rate, it is margins. Crude is lower than it was during Russia-Ukraine. Dollar is lower than it was during Russia-Ukraine. Today, diesel is more expensive than you came to meet it. Those are the questions you should be responding to.
I think that
you want your answer now. What again do you want? No, but you said the time. It's okay. It's okay.
My wife. There was a question. There was a specific question to exactly why the situation is.
No, I have it as a rhetorical question. It's a rhetorical question. He doesn't have to. No, if he wants to, I'll respond again. What are you doing? We're having a debate. We're having a quarter time. What are you talking about? Why? I didn't ask him to respond to it.
Hold on.
We do not have the benefit of different set of facts. No.
So what are you doing right now?
So
I'll respond.
The fact is simple.
No. You won't do that what I'm hearing. Simple. What are you talking about?
January 7th, 2025, when President Mahama took over the administration of this country, Russia-Ukraine war continued. So let's say that Russia contributes 30% of global crude input, like he said. But what is not in doubt, respectfully, is that November 2024, listen carefully, a metric ton of diesel was going for $666 for every metric ton. November 2024. You were in government then. By now, that same metric ton had gone to almost $695, a few dollars up. So the price dynamics keeps changing. However, what is also not in doubt is that by November, December 2024, in fact, on the 4th of December 2024, a liter of diesel went for 15.80.
You didn't come to office in December 2024.
But I am saying,
when you took office in January 2025, what did you inherit? It is more today. It is more today.
It's not in doubt.
You have sent diesel higher than you inherited. That is what you must admit.
It's not, end on the cushioning, because I want us to...
You haven't even responded to that.
It's not in doubt that when President Mahama took over price of fuel, we're doing a little over 14 Ghana cedis, 15 Ghana cedis. That's a fact. You can easily check. In fact, I have heard Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, even on his re-election to be flag bearer, says that, can you imagine, a few days into election, fuel prices were increased without me.
What did you inherit?
He made that point.
What did you
even
inherit?
On his re-election.
What did you inherit?
But until this conflict, prices of petroleum products for 13 months, reversing is here, sold lower than we
Very
think
true,
it.
but the same conflict shut it
now
up.
Now listen, because
shut it up.
The exchange rate cushioning. There are two ways of cushioning these dynamics, and it's important I made it abundantly clear. A better management of the exchange rate also helps. In that, even before the last quarter, the BDCs were trading the dollar for 10.9. If today they would trade it for, say, 11.15, regardless of what cushion government puts in, it can wipe it away. Yeah. So you hold two things in check in this cushioning. You see, we have framed the conversation as though it is only when maybe taxes and levies are removed, that is when government had provided a cushion. So better money.
So why is exchange rate so low and diesel is so high right now that you inherited?
Answer that question. I'm rounding up on this.
You are listening to yourself.
I'm listening to you. Answer that question.
The danger is that, and I'm answering you, 28th February 2026, miracle, a metric ton of diesel was 695. Please jot it down. 695. Today, that same metric ton, nothing, that same quantity, is 1,347.
So you don't control it, isn't it?
That's double,
isn't it? So you don't control it.
Why you asking this question?
So why are you trying to?
Now this is it.
You jump on one side to let go, and on the other side you say, "I have done well."
I do not have the benefit and the privilege of being in cabinet.
Okay.
But thankfully, my sector minister was there.
Okay.
After cabinet, agencies under him, we had to have a meeting to see how the president's, conversation will be fully implemented. And we have run the scenarios. Okay. Thankfully, the sector minister, by Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, you'll be telling the people of this country they
have their price already.
Thank you very much.
They won't have their
price already.
Thank you very much.
So, trying to bring it all down. Look, good governance eases price volatility in fuel. Good governance does that. He's talking about the price of diesel going up, etc. Let me make a point which is also a fact. Around the Ukraine war, Russian oil was sanctioned. You couldn't buy it. 30% off the market. Okay? Iran was under sanction. Many others were under sanction. Today, as we speak, even though the U.S. is at war with Iran, Iran oil has been removed from the sanction.
Russia
you can buy it. Yes. Russian oil has been on sanction. Yes. About 40% more supply has come onto the market.
True.
Okay? Now, even with Hormuz, problems, Iran allows oil through the Straits.
You don't understand this.
I beg. I understand this more than you, even though you are MPA. I've been doing this job for over 10 years.
You don't understand.
I beg you.
When you have started the conversation, it's completely misleading.
Which part of what I said
is completely misleading?
Stop too much.
No, please don't.
Let me continue. It's my time. It's my time. When he gets his time, let him talk.
Stop, Eduji.
Round up, gentlemen.
Hold on.
No, he's still round up. He's just speaking.
Hold on.
I know that Kofi, for the purpose of this discussion, is supposed to provide an expert view on this.
No,
but the view he's expressing is not one bit of
factual. It's factual.
It's not one factual.
Okay,
Iran has been on sanction. Russia has been on sanction.
The two of you have a monologue.
It is factual.
I think that
you run the same voice.
Allow him to speak.
Let's go.
You see, let me make this point.
So much.
Go ahead.
Yes.
But what is not in doubt is that prices have increased. So don't come and sit here and create the impression that Russia is bringing product into the system. Iran is bringing. But what has happened to the price?
Increased.
Okay, thank you.
What has happened to the price?
Supply has increased.
It's the price that you talk about.
Let him end. Yes.
Good governance, strategic thinking affects petroleum prices and therefore the management of economies. I repeat, Russian oil today is not sanctioned. You can buy it. Iranian oil today is not sanctioned. You can buy it. There is more than 30% increased oil on the market today than there was 3 months ago. That's a fact.
But what's the impact on price? You are not telling us.
Let me finish my point.
Would you then factor in that?
Kofi, so what's the impact on price?
Let me finish my point.
Yes.
If you sit at home and you choose to eat out every day, your budget for eating will be one way. If you also choose to cook, your budget will be a different one. All right? If you sit in a country which has 2 refineries and has more than 30% increased crude availability, and you choose to buy finished products, you're not thinking strategically. And I've been making this point all the time. Okay, Rivers, and agree?
Yeah.
Thank you. So if you tell me that eating out has become more expensive, don't you have a wife? Don't you have a refinery? So I keep making the point that good governance, strategic thinking is how we deal with this problem. So the stuff that is they are throwing up and down, for me, I'm looking at how do we think our way out of this? And in thinking our way, I am looking at the facts on the ground that how come today, even though we have a war, look, the Ukraine war has been going on for years, has been priced in, and we have adjusted to it. That's a fact. Okay? And oil that was sanctioned has been released onto the market. That's a fact. We have refining capacity which we did not have a few years back.
Fact.
That's a fact. So why do you keep buying finished products when you can do it here? And Dangote is just next door, and you could have done that. So look, where is the strategic thinking? All this banter going on, look, it comes down to what a government does in terms of thinking and strategic alignments to ease the struggle on people. We are here listening to Dr. Rivers, and he absolutely has a point. They can choose to say we won't take down any margins because they are under stress. These guys are stressed. Their margins are thin, and they have to live. Okay. Meanwhile, it is government that has piled on these things, and we are talking about boss. We are paying boss levy. The banter I was having with him right now is about a tax that I believe can be taken off. If boss wants to do the zonalization to take away, or to stabilize the prices, they should do that. Then we won't pay the tax. My issue is we are paying tax for something, and then we have set up a government institution for that thing, and we are paying the government institution also to do that thing. Why are we paying twice for the same thing? It all comes down to making sure that we are managing this thing better. And my point is that we are not managing it well. The PST, the price setting triangle, is 3 things. Exchange rate. Today, they are manipulating gold and managing the exchange rate well.
No,
we shouldn't have a problem with it. The next one is the price of crude.
What do you mean?
Let me finish my point.
No, but you are
the price of crude. Manipulation, you are taking it bad. I don't mean it badly.
No, but you've used this platform
I left you to do your politics. Leave me alone. The price of crude.
When you're backing vocalists.
He's setting me up. What I mean is, I said last time, if you look at the triangle of things that set the price, all of them can be adjusted by us in our government if we do the heavy lifting and intellectual thinking and then plan our way through this. This leaving it to the global price of refined diesel is not a smart way to go.
Right.
We need better governance of our petroleum sector.
Thank you. There are quite a number of messages here. It says, thank you very much for the conversation this morning and bringing Dr. Rivers in to break, it says, the issues down, but the politics of things cannot be taken out of the policy of pricing and the matters of petroleum products. So he should understand why this matter has a political angle. I think that is okay, at least established. This one here says, good morning. Richmond Roxon speaks for the Ministry of Energy. He says, let Miracles know that the report he referred to was completely wrong. We have had to remodel because that projection by the Kufado government published by the Energy Commission in 2024.
If your Energy Commission come and refer to an organization that you run and say that's a Kufado. So I should accept yours.
I'll read.
You see, I don't know how some of these people process us. Now your report is correct from the same commission.
Was completely
the same
wrong.
commission.
He says AXA, SenPower, Asogli, KTPP all run on liquid fuel as well, even though they are dual fuel.
Nobody said it's not.
We have enough gas supply.
95%.
But you are saying that Energy Commission's report should be neglected, but Energy Commission's in 2026 should be accepted. What kind of logic is that?
This government has worked tirelessly to increase gas supply, even with the significant progress made.
MP and the Tamburi should be ignored, but MP and the ADG should be accepted.
Your microphones are off, by the way. To 280 million, increase from 100 to 130. Standard cubic feet by Jubilee, and increased gas from Nigeria. It is still not enough, and we are not doing 97% gas for thermal generation. Honorable Jenapo introduced the gas to power policy. The goal is to ensure we move ours from reliance on liquid fuels to natural gas. The gas processing plant 2 all forms part of the government's work plan. This is from Richmond Roxon. Thank you very much for your message. This one here says that it's been a week of government working so hard to avoid increases in prices in some sectors of the economy relative to fuel because of the Middle East crisis. This is coming from Papa Bishu from Spintex Road. This one here says, what I expect of government this week is measures to cushion the Ghanaian, and I'm just hoping that, as ADG has said, this week will not end without we hearing anything from government, you say. This is Dr. Norte says, good morning. Government appointees who enjoy DSTV entertainment, security, fuel, expensive accommodation in cantonments should not tout fuel coupon ban as an intervention. He says, remember Kojo Poku said addressing scarcity and sidestep pricing. A comparison of positions exposes a lot. You say, thank you. Did the Russia-Ukraine war end? Is it no longer in context? You say, thank you very much for your message this morning. And this one here says, good morning. I would want to find out from Miracles. He has given statistics, and to what end? If the Russia and Iran sanctions were lifted, why are the prices still high? BB from Oyarifa. Thank you very much, BB, for your message this morning. This one here says, please tell, this is Alfred, Dr. Shams sends a message. Tell Kofi Bento that the increase in supply of a commodity does not always determine the prices of the commodity. In business management, an increase in the supply of critical products like petroleum products does not necessarily amend prices, since the same is regulated by an international institution with specific interest, you say. Thank you very much. Richmond Dogbe says, Alfred, could you please ask Kofi Bento to give us 3 key points of better fuel governance? I think in his, he said quite a number of things as well in this instance. And this one here says, good morning. I appreciate the analysis that Edwidge Tamaklo brings to this matter this morning. I would rather, he says he's giving more time to expatiate on the issues. I think he has. Thank you very much for your message this morning. This one here says that Edwidge is right. Anybody who tries to discount the impact of BOST may not be putting the issues right. BOST is a critical player in the architecture of our industry. I think that's what Dr. Riverson Opong also indicated. Doc, appreciate you for coming. Thank you so much for your time. And that leads us to our next issue this morning. And Franklin Kujo, the founding president of Imani Africa, says, good morning, Alfred. And good morning to you, Mr. Kujo. Thank you for connecting. More oil, but it is not easy to get the oil out. In fact, many oil tankers are paying more to route oil through the Cape of Southern Africa, costing way more than through the Strait of Hormuz. In fact, it costs $1 million extra per day for ships to go through South Africa. We may not be buying from the Middle East, but what happens there impacts prices everywhere. So it says that's also complementing the point that Dr. Everson and Eduji were making earlier. Thank you, Franklin Kujo, for your message this morning. Dr. Rivers Opong, thank you very much. He's the CEO of the Chamber of
Go and lecture.
Oil Marketing Companies. Thank you. Let me remind you this morning that we're live on 3FM 92.7, also on a number of radio stations across the country. That is on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale, on W93.5 in Wa and beyond, and also the Voice of London Radio and Voice of London Television. And as I indicated earlier this morning, we have our new title sponsor for The Key Point. We welcome the Bank of Africa. Now, activate your dormant account with the Bank of Africa. Enjoy our refreshed product services, including our enhanced SME support facility, US dollar debit card, credit cards, and more. You must also update your account at any Bank of Africa branch with your Ghana card. So keep that in mind. Kindly reach our call center on 0302 429 333, 0302 429 333, or 0302 249 690, or chat Fafa at www.boaghana.com for support or inquiries. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. Also this morning, let me tell you about the University of the Gold Coast. And we have been giving you more insight on what they have been offering, at least in terms of their courses. Whether you are aiming for a specialized MBA in marketing, communications, operations and supply chain, human resource management, finance, entrepreneurship and innovations, or business intelligence and analytics, or you want to advance through a dual MBA or chartered manager MBA, University of the Gold Coast gives you options that match your vision. And if your next step is an MSc in international relations, communications and international marketing, international law, security and diplomacy, accounting and finance, or human resource management, an LLM in international law, security and diplomacy, or an MA in biblical studies or practical theology, the pathway is open. And I'm talking about the University of the Gold Coast. April admissions are open and ongoing now, because at University of Gold Coast, we make it practical, flexible learning, flexible entry, and flexible payment as well. Give them a call and tell them that you heard me talk about it on The Key Point. They would give you a special package on 0542 889045, 0542 889045, or 0263 888 555, 0263 888 555. University of Gold Coast, building leaders for the nations. And the Ocean Bells Travels and Tours this month is organizing an 11-day business and leisure tour to China. And the package starts from $1,555, 11 days, right from April 22nd to the 3rd of May. So keep that in mind with the Ocean Bells Travels and Tours. And we brought you the tour to Dubai, and some of you also giving us some good feedback on that. Call Ocean Bells Travels and Tours for some updates on how you can take advantage and be part of the tour of business and leisure to China on 0242 037 280, 0242 037 280. This week, the tender committee that was established by the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources to look into the award of the Damang mines to the bidders In fact, we started this process with 4 companies. Eventually this week, there was an announcement by the tender committee. A presentation was done going through exactly how they settled on engineers and planners. And subsequent to that press engagement by the tender committee, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources directed the Minerals Commission to engage and begin works to ensure that engineers and planners takes over the management of the Damang mines. The secretary to this tender committee, who is also the acting director of legal of the Minerals Commission, is joining us in the studio right now, and that is Mr. Joseph Iroko. He's going to be taking his seat to have a say on this matter, taking into consideration all the issues that have come to the fore regarding this engineers and planners award of the contract, that in fact that bid to manage at least the Damang mines for this particular period. We have a conversation on this, and rightly so, because of the questions that have come up regarding this decision that was communicated earlier in the week. And also joining us is Edem Senanu, who is the co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption. Edem Senanu, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Senanu.
Thank you.
Also joining us is Mr. Joseph Iroko. He is the Director of Legal for the Minerals Commission, Secretary to the Tender Committee. Sir Iroko, good morning.
Good morning.
He's also a lawyer, by the way. Thank you very much for joining us. And it's for good reason that I start off with you, because you went through this process and eventually told us who has won or whom you have settled on. Now, the documentation that you provided indicated, and I'm going to put it on the screen right in a bit, that EMP provided some documentation that indicates that the company possesses experience and knowledge relevant to the operations of Damang. Now, questions have been asked that, the EMP has not been involved in direct mining, correct? You've been involved in providing mining support services. So what exactly do you mean if you say that they possess the experience in managing the operations of a mine?
So thank you very much. I think we have to go back to the tender notice that the minister released, and that is where our conversation should start from. So in the tender guideline that he released, the minister had provided for what any interested entity must meet in terms of the bidding process. And that's what was used for the entire process. Mm-hmm. So I don't know whether you have one or you can put on the screen.
I'll open it up in a bit.
So in the tender notice that was published, there were a number of requirements that were to be met by any person who is interested. So the technical capacity, financial, and all that. So in terms of the technical capacity, so the person must have a proven experience in similar mining operations. Now, let's not forget, the Damang mine is not an ordinary mine. It's a mine that has made a lot of contribution to the country. It's been held by Goldfields, and as you know, Goldfields is one of the largest mining companies in the world. So the significance of the Damang mine is not lost on any industry watcher. Mm-hmm. So anybody who's going to take over must at the minimum have a comparable experience. Mm-hmm. It's like you advertise for a Class C driver, right? Because maybe the nature of the company that owns that vehicle requires a Class C driver. Mm-hmm. You cannot come and apply for a Class A driving license. You must meet the minimum requirements. Mm-hmm. So since government made the decision to take over the asset when it expires, anybody that will take over from the outgoing company must have that similar or comparable experience. Mm-hmm. Now we talk about, and it's just now I'm going to talk generally about the question of EMP mining provider. And I'm making it not because they won, but of general conversation. What is mining? That's the first question. What is mining? Mining is extraction of mineral resources from the ground. You can do it yourself, or you employ a service provider. Now, and so Goldfields has the lease, but when it comes to the actual mining, they use the services of a contractor, which is, in this case, EMP.
Right.
So when it comes to the actual mining, it is done by, let's say, EMP or an entity called BCM. So already is the extraction of the resource from the ground. That is what we call mining. You may have the company that is set up to be the leaseholder, but you must do the mining through an entity. Under our procurement list, we have moved away from owner mining into contract mining. That's even before we got the EAP was already providing that service to the company. So it really, when it comes to the distinction, it's just about who is doing the job, whether the company that has the lease is doing it itself or it is doing it through the services of a third party. So really, that is really the difference.
I see, but let me just give you a quick overview because you referenced the tender notice for selection of the strategic investor. So we would get into it, but the process started with submissions from 4 companies, and then the responsive companies were about 2. The technical pass was just fulfilled by just 1 company. And then you had to do the selection. The phase 1 involved this, what you looked out for. It should be wholly owned, valid tax clearance, valid SNIT clearance, valid VAT clearance, certificate of incorporation, and then have all of that. And then you looked at the relevant experience, which carried 50 points from what you gave us. And all of this involved the methodology, the key staff qualification, facility and equipment, safety and health, and then local content, which was 10%. And in all of this, you analyze EMP and then the Heath mining. Those were the 2 that crossed to the second stage, correct?
Yes.
And those 2, in terms of experience, EMP scored 48.6 out of 50, and Heath mining 26.6. Methodology, 9 out of 10, and then 6.2 for. So all of this, if you look at all the benchmarks you're looking for under technical proposal scoring, EMP came tops. And then when it comes to the technical qualification outcome, 95.4% for EMP and 63%. And it is at this point that you eliminated Heath Goldfields, or they couldn't make the mark, right? Can you explain to me this particular point? What happened after this point?
Well, we did not eliminate them. The requirements of the law eliminated them. So I want to be very clear. As I mentioned, the law is quite clear that if the minister decides to go to the tender process, he issues guidelines. That he has done.
Right.
And the guidelines contain what must be met by any applicant and what the processes are. So any score that you see there is pursuant to the implementation of the guideline as issued by the minister. So I want to be very careful when you say we eliminate. It doesn't get misconstrued. That is based on the requirements and the evaluation results. So yes, they were knocked out, if I can use that word, based on the evaluation criteria.
Report.
Yes,
I see. And
then let me also add, actually the experience is 40 months, not 50. In that category, you see that there are 2 things there. The applicant information, which is 10 marks, and then the experience of the company or the particular bidder, which is 40 marks. So I need to clarify that as well.
I see.
Yes.
And I asked this question because of some issues that have come up that why was there no expression of interest phase? I mean, that's standard for any complex transaction like this, that you use it to, as it were, gauge who is in the market, what their capacity is, and let the potential bidders then ask questions before the real bid opens. So why did you not go through that process?
Well, of all the questions that have come up, this is the easiest for me. Why do I say so? the requirements are provided for in the law. Regulations 256 all the way to 264 makes provision for what the minister must do when he decides to go that route. And the word is tender. It's clear. Everything that has to be done is in the law. So the minister or the commission has no space for discretion. It's quite clear in the law. If you look at it, it's there, and they even define it in the regulation, what it means. So I think it will be an academic exercise if you and I want to debate the, the difference between an EOI and a tender and what they mean for the process. The requirements are provided for the law, and that's what we followed.
But you see, I know that we'll come to Ms. Beniso on this, but this 500 million requirement, and that's the company must show access to funding to the tune of 500 million. There was a mention of 600 million somewhere. Can you explain that to me? And how this 500 million, you say EMP posted a potential, they're able to have access to funding of 505 million, and you settled on them.
You see, I keep going back to the issue of the importance of the asset, Damang mine. It's an asset that is producing. Jobs and livelihoods are dependent on it. For whatever reason, the state is not renewing the lease of the outgoing company. And I think you agree that the state has the responsibility of securing and protecting livelihoods that are at stake. Now, the asset needs some form of massive investment to be able to continue running per the requirements of the Minerals Commission. And by the way, there's a professional team that is working with Goldfields to ensure a seamless exit. So per their calculations, we will need a minimum of 500 million USD to ensure continuity in operations.
Per the calculation of who? That's the
transitional team,
transitional
all the experts who have done their work, who say that we need a minimum of between 500 to 600 USD. Now, so the issue of the amount is based on the analysis that was done. Again, I'll go back now to the mining sector. Even when you are applying for mineral rights through the normal first come, first serve principle, the law requires you, as part of your requirement, to show financial and technical capacity. And if you look at the way the West is used, availability of resources available to the applicant to be able to run the operations. Then I go back to the terms of the guideline, because that's what we use for the process. I don't want to speak outside when it comes to me. So it says on financial.
Which page is this? Because we'll put that on the page.
Page 8.
Page 8 of the tender document.
Is it evidence of access to funding in excess of 500 million USD? So evidence of access. Either when you apply for mineral rights, you need to show that you can raise the necessary funding to support the operations. So let me come back to that. So now, there was no mention of hit goals. That is so because you needed to meet a minimum score at the technical level for it to progress to the financial level.
No, so this is where you read. I think let's put it in focus.
Yes.
So audited financial statements for the last 5 years.
Yes.
Evidence of access to funding in excess of 500 million to 600 million.
Yes.
For project development, restarting and stabilizing operations, major cutback execution, waste stripping, fleet acquisition, infrastructure optimization, and sustaining production readiness.
Yes. And I'm explaining the point that you need to have regard for the 3-stage evaluation process. First, you meet the mandatory requirements, like the qualifier rounds, let me put it that way. When you qualify to the next stage, which is the technical stage, your proposal is evaluated against clear requirements.
Right.
It is when you cross the 80% mark that you move to the financial stage. So, like I'm saying, his goals didn't cross the 80 mark. Therefore, by the requirements, you don't even have to consider the financial proposal, leaving only EMP as the successful applicant.
Well,
but then they're able to demonstrate through letters from Access, Stambik, and Stanbic and one other bank, AFSA.
I see.
Yes.
But do you understand why some also raise questions about why maybe, for instance, the other companies couldn't raise that much? Because to put together a credible $500 million bid, you need geological consultants, financial advisors, legal teams, consortium partners. Those relationships, some would say, takes weeks to months to arrange. I mean, so how exactly were outside bidders supposed to assemble all of this?
Again, and I'm sure my colleagues will agree with me, the mining sector is a serious business. We're talking about the large scale. And I keep going to the point that the mine that is being taken over is run by Goldfields Ghana Limited. If you look at the first 10 largest mining companies as far as gold is concerned, you find Goldfields. And Damang and takeover mines have been a significant contributor to their production in their revenue. So when you want to take over a mine as significant as Damang, you must be prepared. So a year ago, everybody knew in this country that government has made essentially known of not renewing Goldfields' lease in their mines. Mm-hmm. So usually in the industry, you find people who are serious, I'm using that advisedly, who are preparing for the opportunity that will come from government taking over. Because by our law, government doesn't run mining operations. You regulate. You must give it out to somebody to run. It's a mining lease, then you have your 10% free carried interest in it. Mm-hmm. So anybody who is a keen observer of the system would be preparing for it. Why am I saying this? As a matter of fact, as soon as government made clear that they will not renew Goldfields' leasehold, 3 companies are putting speculative applications.
3 companies?
Yes. Knowing that even at the time, the lease had not even been terminated. They are putting 3. So there was BCM International, there was even Vortex, one of the companies that was moved. And guess the third one?
What's the third one?
You guess.
No, I want you to say it.
EMP. So this is evidence of people who know that eventually the state will have to give out that lease, and they were making themselves ready for the opportunity. Now, let me just say this. Per the regulations, if we are, so in the regulation, there are 3 ways by which the minister could decide to go through the tender route. That the Minerals Commission has determined that there is enough mineral information available in front of the land, or that government has done prior exploration in that place. Mm-hmm. Or C, that within 7 days after the subsidy list has expired, 2 or more companies have put in an application, in which case, then they would have been locking. So those who put an application within the 7 days after expiration would have been only people or companies that the state would have been obliged to consider. Mm-hmm. So in which case, even when they are if you use that route, you still find BCM, Vortex, and EMP in the mix. But you know why it wasn't used?
Sorry.
Because, as I mentioned, the Damang mine is an ongoing concern. There are 933 people whose livelihood depend on the continuous operation of that. Government has an interest to have it running so because we can have our revenues and all the multiplier effects of the mines in the host mining community. Mm-hmm. So if we're going to wait for 18th April, which is when the current leasehold of Goldfields will expire, we're going to elongate the process and make it even difficult for government to quickly deal with the exit of Goldfields. So it wasn't government had to look at the option of, okay, commission said we have enough information available. Therefore, let's do the tender based on those requirements. Mm-hmm. But whatever the case is, the minister has the regulatory mandate to publish guidelines that will be used for any of these scenarios. Mm-hmm. So when he chose scenario A, he's still required to publish a guideline, which he did. If he has chosen scenario C, he's still required to publish a guideline, in which case he will determine their processes. Mm-hmm. So really, the issue of funding is just to show that when you are taking over, you can raise those monies, able to fund the operation, at least in the short to medium term.
You see, and I'm going to come to the others. I just wanted us to establish some foundation to this. One of the questions that has been asked was the turnaround time or the period for the award of this contract. When I checked the website, tender closed at 4 p.m. on the 31st of March, correct? Yes. And 1 week on, which was just this Tuesday,
Yes.
you had concluded the process,
Yes.
settled on who had crossed the marks and ticked the boxes, and then afterwards the minister gives a directive. I mean, 1 week for such a tender. Would you then agree with those who raise questions about that short period? And then within that 1 week, there was Easter breaks as well. So that's about 4 days. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So you technically had 3 days. I mean, unless you were working during the Easter period.
Yes. Okay. So I'll start from the last point. So when biz closed on 31st March, of course, because the minister had published the guidelines, the commission has started putting in place the structures for that. And by the way, this is the first time ever that we ever had recourse to the use of a tender process as provided for in LI 2170 since 2012 when the law was passed. This is the first time ever tried to use the provisions of LI 2176 by recourse to tender. So the moment we got to know that the minister has published the guidelines, there are certain things that is required of the commission. First of all, you receive the bids. And you must set up a tender committee provided for in the regulation. And it has been provided for as to who will constitute those tender committees. So 3 members for the Mirrors Commission, one of whom shall be the chairman and under the secretary, somebody from the EPA, one person from the GGSA, the Ghana Local Survey Authority. Of course, the committee has the option of co-option, which we used. We brought in a chief state attorney from the AG's office, who is in charge of the government for natural resources matters. We brought in a legal advisor, geologist, and a man who has worked all his life at the Mirrors Commission. In fact, he started his national service there, worked there, and retired there.
I see.
We are the current legal advisor to the sector minister. We brought them on board to enrich the expertise already provided for by the law. Then, when the bids were closed, the tender committee that was constituted met on the 9th of 31st. I've mentioned to you that the overriding issue is the sustenance of the Damang operations. The people down there who will be affected by any closure was uppermost in the minds of the Mirrors Commission. That I know. We need to secure the place. So when you met on 31st, between the period 1st to Monday 7th, was it Monday 7th? No, 6th, right?
Yes, Monday.
The committee met on each day. If I didn't have any Easter break, we were meeting.
You worked throughout the Easter period?
Yes, from 31st up to the Monday before the Tuesday the report was given to the minister. We had worked throughout the entire holiday period, trying to make sure that we finish our work. And of course, again, ultimately, the number of the bid that you have will determine even the amount of time you spend on everything. I remember one of the companies, we took 2 days to go through the documents and evaluate.
I see.
Yes, because the document was voluminous. And when we finished, we needed to, in fact, as at 11 p.m. on Sunday, the committee was still meeting online to fine-tune its report to get ready for the ministerial recommendation the next working day. So in terms of timeline, on our part, we did our work. We didn't go on holidays. That's that. Yeah.
I see. Now, the matter of timeline was one of the major issues that came up. And Mr. Bento, I'll come with you on this. And with this explanation that has been given, and today said that even within the holiday period, there was some work that was ongoing, for that matter, to settle on this because of a timeline that you had to meet. Does that answer the question?
No, it doesn't. I think, he's speaking for himself, and he gives us an impression of how hard they worked on this. As you may be aware, we have a publication on it, on brycemons.com. But let me start by putting this in the proper context. If you race with a tyrant's son, you should not win if you are wise.
Repeat that.
If you go on a race with the son of a tyrant, you should not win if you are wise.
What do you mean?
It's a proverb, so...
How does it apply to this?
I think that the atmosphere was such that nobody doubted that Mr. Ibrahim was going to win this one. It was very well signaled. But the truth of the matter is that I don't know anybody who has a problem with it per se. Okay? I mean, on all sides. You'll be surprised about how much resource nationalism there is in an average Ghanaian. Almost everybody I know I kind of just check randomly, wants Ghanaians to own our resources, is happy that the Ghanaian is owning the resources, and are prepared to accept that even if there was what we call Kululu, it is okay. And I'm in the same boat. Okay? But I want to situate this in history and in perspective. Look, for those of you at home, Google the 3 Josephs, okay? Or Google the names together. Joseph Ellis. Yeah. No. The 3 Josephs are no name. If you know the history of mining in Ghana, Joseph Ellis, Chief Joseph Biney, and Joseph Brown. Google these 3 names together, the 3 Josephs, and you'll see what you find. And this is what you will find. These are 3 fancy men, 2 men and their accountant, who went and started what is today called Anglo-Gold Ashanti. They took a concession from the chiefs of Ashanti, and they started the Obuasi mine today, which is Anglo-Gold Ashanti. Ghanaians, 3 people, in the 1800s, all right? And I'm going to, in a short while, give you a short history so that it brings this in context. We have always wanted local ownership of our mines and resources generally, and we have always worked towards that. So these 3 people started Obuasi mine. Later they sold it. Ghanaians started, then we sold it. Why? Because they needed more money, I'll put it this way, financial and technical capacity. They didn't have it, so they ended up selling it. It went to some British people. Okay. Down the line, our governments came and forced us back into it, again claiming resource sovereignty. This is our mine. You people, even though they bought it, you can't own it. They put us back in the mine, and we took shares in the mine by force. All right? We kept it. And once you take over something, you're supposed to put your money in. Financial capability, technical capability. Once we take it, we don't do that. We just take things out. So the mine just went down. Guess what we did? We sold it back. We sold it back. And when we sold it back, the foreigners took over again. And you know what we did? We went back and forced ourselves into something called a golden share. We said, even though we have sold everything, we will still have controlling shares in this, even though we are in the minority, so that we could tell what will happen, what will not happen, all these things. I'm just giving you an idea of our history in terms of these things. We always want to own it, but we don't put in the financial capability and the technical capability. So we took the golden share. We had a golden share for a while. Guess what we did with the golden share? We sold it. Okay? We sold it again. So the history of our resources from the 1800s is that we always want to own it. We always want to be the ones who are managing that, but we never manage it well. We never put in the finances, we never put in the technical requirements, and we end up selling it. Now, so, I don't know anybody, including myself. I am all for Mr. Ibrahim owning the Damang mine. It is just an emotional thing. But I've read enough and I know enough to know that there are these glaring issues. Will we find the financial capability and also the technical capability to run this mine as it ought to be run? The estimates show that they need a minimum of about $500 million to about $1 billion to run this mine well. Nobody has that money in the Ghana. He has to raise it. He claims that he has raised that money. The banks are speaking for him. I believe that. And I'm thinking emotionally. All right? It is not easy. Mining is not easy. He knows it, okay? And whether these people will put up or not, we don't know. It depends on so many things, and a lot of things are in flux, all right? My brother here just said something which is extremely important. He says, the interest of the government is to make sure that we, the livelihoods of the people, the workers over there, okay? I have spoken to some senior people in the TUC who tell me that the track record of Ibrahim, when it comes to workers, SNIT, etc., is questionable. And I don't want to cast anything, but I've told him that if he really believes there's an issue there, he should raise it. But I'm saying that these are things that we should also look at, okay? And at the end of the day, if you look at the history that I gave you, whenever we have problems with this, financial capability and the technical capability, we end up selling. Okay, do we have sufficient safeguards that somewhere down the line we will not wake up and hear that the mine has been sold? Okay, so I've said a number of things. I mean, and I can go into the nitty-gritty of the tender. Clearly, a 7-day period for $1 billion tender is funny.
Well,
Okay.
that's what I asked, and he explained.
Yeah. I
that
mean,
this is-
it's not done anywhere.
the explanation given doesn't still
It's not
tick
done
the box. Why?
anywhere.
But
Check
I think
everywhere.
he says it's the law. So if it's the law, I mean, then that is something that ought to have been dealt with.
Practice.
It is not because
You let me
somebody
finish.
has
You come
schemed.
in. Let me finish. It's not done anywhere. The least is 30 days in this scale. But me, I'm fine. 7 days. Give it to him. Like I said, I want to see a Ghanaian running that mine. And you see, it is clear that if you see the people who come, no, it's not one person. Too much is on Ibrahim's head. Okay? And personally, let me tell you this, and I'm saying it publicly. The biggest confidence I have in all that is going on is that I have seen Sir Sam Jonah with Mr. Ibrahim Mahama a few times. That gives me the biggest confidence. Because that gentleman, Sir Sam Jonah, has run world-class mines successfully. He knows what goes in, what comes in, what is required. So it is a smart thing if Mr. Ibrahim Mahama is keeping him around. And I think we need to see more of that. Look, we have rich people all over the place in Ghana, all right? Whether it's whatever business they've done to be rich, I think it will be more, confidence inspiring if we see Mr. Ibrahim Mahama put together more networks of rich Ghanaians, all right? So look, I've said it and I mean it. Read it everywhere, 7 days, no. But so be it, okay? I believe that if we have to bend backwards to give Ghanaians an upper hand on, in our own resources and related issues. That's why I supported Springfield, even though I wasn't happy with what was going on with EMP, okay, ENI, okay. I would not have a problem with that. But after doing that, after getting through it, like he said, is the law, give ourselves every excuse we need to give it to him. Give it to him. But now let's do the hard work to make sure that these livelihoods of the workers that we are talking about, I mean, if it's true that his track record with that is not good, then somebody should advise him, okay? We should make sure that we don't end up in a situation like the history I've given you. We take it and we sell it, all right? We should not do that, okay? What it needs is to build capacity and build networks. Mining is hard. You need a lot of money, and you don't need it once. You need it consistently, okay? Like I said, way back in the 1800s, Ghanaians started mines. The history is that we are not able to keep them, okay? Finally, sometimes what people will do is that, look, the mine is an asset. It has value sitting there. But if you look at what it takes to go in and tap the value, sometimes you just leverage it. Oh, I have a mine that is worth $3 billion. You take some loans, you go and sit somewhere, and then you rest, and then we end up having some sort of a problem. We have seen all kinds of little things happening when it comes to our resources and other things. We end up giving it to Ghanaians and we have these problems. So for me, I'm saying I'm happy with it. I'm not prepared to go into all the whatever it is about it. I'm happy with giving it to a Ghanaian. But now let us do the work to make sure we don't come back and say we should have done it differently.
And
I think for me it's very
before
important.
this period, I mean, because of the context that Mr. Bento brings in, before this period, already the minority had hinted of going to Shraj to ask questions on the matters of conflict of interest and so on. All of that clouds this.
And that's where I have an issue.
Give me a minute.
No.
So, see, like I said, if you read brysimons.com, we have written, Imani, we have looked at the whole process, analyzed it, and put out some indicators, and indeed, one of the points that was made is that, are we putting EMP up to fail or not? The reason is this, you see, if you make some of these things too soft at the beginning, you create problems because the person has to have the energy. Now, if they decide that they are going to go in and question this thing and pick at it and check whatever it is, like I said, the 7 days, there will be a lot to discuss. But me, I'm saying, look, at this point, I am prepared to give every benefit of doubt, all right, to him. But now let us use that energy to do whatever we can to make sure that this history I've just narrated over the past 100 years of we doing it, failing, and then selling it doesn't happen. So, sorry I took your time, but
No
the point
problem.
is, no matter what argument there is to it, let's give the benefit of the doubt and let's see how this turns out.
All right, thank you.
So I don't want to just give the benefit of the doubt. I think that EMP won this fair and square. And I want to speak to some of the facts. We are aware that the law itself gives that 7-day period. And within the construct of the law...
Sorry, let me just come in. So the law is silent on the requirement. So it's at the discretion of the minister through the publication of his guidelines.
There's no law.
No, the guidelines require the minister to...
So it's not law.
Yes.
It's an objective standard.
I said, so it's not law.
No, but senior,
The guidelines is the product of a regulation.
My brother here said, no, you just corrected it. It's not law. It's discretion.
There's a 7-day period.
Yes, it's discretion. It's not law. Let's
after
be clear.
that, we'll deal
So
with
best
it.
practice will show you that it's a minimum of 30.
And by the way, this was not created yesterday in favor of EMP. That these guidelines have been there.
It's an objective standard.
Yes.
The law has been there, but the minister at any point in time will have to publish a guideline to guide the process.
That's why it is an objective standard.
Guideline, yes.
And
Okay.
listen carefully. The 4 bidders, none of them question the guidelines. That's the most important point.
If you raise
please.
Thank you.
Okay, so let me proceed. So let me...
I'll come to you so that you don't have to
deal with those
So
matters.
and part of those guidelines
Relax.
includes the fact that
Relax.
those who have the expression, those who've expressed interest will be given the opportunity, as it were, to submit bids, which happened. Now, my understanding is that, and I think that there are some unique issues that have not been highlighted. My understanding is that Goldfields itself, when the original operator walked out on them, I can't remember what it's supposed to be, December 2018 or so, themselves reached out to EMP and asked them to take over, mobilize and take over that mine, which they did. Which means that for quite a number of years, this mine, so the person who owns the lease is Goldfield, but the person who has been operating it has been EMP. So the suggestion that they don't have the experience, they don't have the capacity, is not one we should be talking about at this point, because this mine, in terms of its operation, had been, as it were, managed by EMP over the years, till we got to this point. In respect of the bids itself, it has also been pointed out that on the day of the bid opening, 2 of the 4 that had applied had not paid the 100,000, is it bid security, or what do you call it?
The bid application.
The bid application had not been paid. So they are being ruled out wasn't because somebody went and fished out some technical issue and tried to,
This one.
at the opening, the 100,000 that ought to have been paid and the check refinance had not been paid.
This is the application fee?
The application fee. So they couldn't even proceed. 2 out of the 4 could not proceed simply because that 100,000 had not been paid. Now you're left with 2 candidates. I hear that even with the last candidate, what had happened was that the application itself came in through at 4:04 p.m. When the guys were already sitting in the place. And so there was a question, should we go ahead with this last candidate or not? And they had to consult the minister, who then said, look, let's still go ahead with it. So there are substantive issues that led to the fact that now you had only 2 people, 2 of these candidates that were being considered. And then they did the examination. I'm not surprised that an entity that had been running that mine for a certain number of years ended up being the winner. So I think that it is not fair for us to suggest that, if we just gave it to them and so it's okay. No. Let's get the facts and be clear that this was won fair and square. If we have admonitions or encouragement to say, make sure that if there's anything about how you manage staff, make sure that that also is done well. I think that is a good recommendation to make. But let's not seem to suggest that something untoward may have happened. I don't think that is the case in this instance. I think they had the capacity. I think they went through the process. If they have been given it, we all need to encourage them to make sure that we move this thing forward.
I think the other issue you raised about is the ability to raise the financial capital to sustain the operations of the mine. Was that question answered clearly and convincingly during that tender period?
Okay, so I'm going to go back again. I'm looking at the law. I'm going to go back even when you apply for a mining lease or mineral rights through the first come, first served principle. One of the requirements under Section 11 of Act 703 that you should show evidence of resources that you need to run the operation. Evidence. So usually you need to show that, yes, I can raise this amount of money, and then you will verify with the bank that this company says they have some where you can support their operation. It's always a requirement that you must show evidence. Now, that amount of money is what probably will be used for the short to medium term. Of course, as you are operating, you increase your capacity. You will go for more funding, whether it's debt funding or equity funding, to support your operation. And don't forget, when you are working, you have a money list. The Members Commission has the obligation to monitor your operation to be sure that you are at all times compliant with the regulation. So that is there. Now, Kofi spoke about conflict of interest. Conflict of interest situation.
I don't know.
Yes. So, okay, you mentioned the minority.
Yes.
I think there is the issue of that two people who are said to be close to the owner of a company should not be part of the process. And indeed, if you look at by the composition of the tender committee, they were not part.
The individuals.
Yes, even the letter was written to invite external members was signed by a deputy CEO, because we want to avoid the impression that those who have been tagged as close to one party are running the entire process. They were no part. By the time that the minority was even holding their press conference, evidence will show that the memo in-house that was used to set up the committee and those going to the outside people were signed on 24th. And they went out before the minorities conference even happened on 25th. Now again, the issue of the question of the committee, I've just explained to you that the provisions are in the law, which form the committee. And the committee work against the express provisions of the guidelines. We mark everybody based on the requirements in the law. When we're doing the job, like I've said in other interviews, we look at the criteria before us and not have regard to anybody's last name. We had a marking scheme where we were using to mark those who have met the requirement at each particular point in time.
Okay, I see. Well, let me just bring in Visitor McClure on this
yes,
one.
Let me say this. At long last, the battle has ended.
Which battle exactly?
The famous words of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, that the African is capable of managing his own affairs. We are transitioning to that. And I'm particularly happy that for the first time in many years, we are not going to have to repatriate gold resources and their proceeds to any foreign entity, but a Ghanaian company for that matter. This is progress. This is what it means for the African. Anybody that has had the benefit of going to Johannesburg will see the difference between Joburg and Obuasi. They both have gold, but one is developed, and one, I don't know what to say.
You sold.
I don't know what to say. Today,
You keep selling.
leadership response is that. And one of the things I have to do is also to salute President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo on this platform. The process didn't start today. It started thankfully under the watch and direction of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. I have with me a letter dated 12 March 2024 and from the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And for 12 March 2024, we are talking about the leadership of President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. And it's addressed to the Chief Executive Officer, Engineers and Planners Company Limited. Dear Sir, request for notice of no objection pursuant to Section 52 of the Minerals and Mining Act 2006. And effectively, if you read this letter, what the then ministry stated is that we do not, and they say, this is a no objection for engineers and planners to enter into negotiations for the purposes of acquiring the Damang gold mine. This is the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources in 2024 giving a no objection to engineers and planners to enter into negotiation with the authorities pursuant to the acquisition of the Damang mines. At the time, for the record, President Mahama was not the president of Ghana. President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo saw the wisdom in allowing a fully owned Ghanaian company to enter into negotiation, and the purpose, acquisition of the mine. So that's not in doubt. What is also not in doubt is that the process was competitive, highly competitive. It was not a hand-picked situation. No, competitive. Bids open. Everybody come. Show your capabilities. Show figures. Show your numbers. Show your ability. Ultimately, when everything was taken in its totality, clearly, the company called Engineers and Planners demonstrated, and the score mark was 90.
This is 3.1.
93.
The overall score.
This is UCC scoring, no. UCC.
What do you say? What do you mean?
You know UCC and Legon scoring, you know.
Be careful, don't mention my school by heart.
I'm a Legon student as well. But you know, we are all Legon, but you know UCC, the scoring UCC those days. In fact, when UCC gave me economics, mathematics, and geography, I came to Legon to do econ, geography, and philosophy.
Why?
For 93 in UCC is 93.
You are on dangerous ground. Make your point.
So the point I'm making is that engineers and planners scored a high mark of 93.15%. Final evaluation score. That score has not been impugned by anybody whatsoever. Merit. That is what engineers and planners, with 30 years, almost 30 years experience in contract mining, nobody in this country would ever deny the contract mining experience of engineers and planners, equipment capacity, financial capacity. And look, the record shows two of the topmost banks in this country, ABSA, Stanbic Bank, are willing to syndicate the financial closure for this transaction. That is significant. And again, the promoters of engineers and planners have given a clear indication of providing further financial distance to cover over $1 billion plus for the smooth operation of the mine. You see, Alfred, what is even interesting is that Goldfields itself, through its MD, I think Elliot Chum, wrote a letter, and I'm talking about to the minister. And in the letter from Goldfields, if you look at the concluding, the two concluding paragraphs, this is what Goldfield itself, the person who is now running the mine, this is what they had to say. And I want to just read those portions. Quote, in both cases, we note that the incumbent mining contractor is well experienced in the operating conditions at Damang. You see, the thing with mines is that it's not a platform for experiment. With respect, it is not a place where you go and run, I am learning on the job.
Mining is hard.
Mining is not a joke. And so, the current person is telling us that this company called Engineers and Planners understands the terrain, understands the geography of the place, the operating conditions of the Damang mine. None of the others have that experience. Fact. In fact, it would have been a mark of negligence on the part of the tender evaluation committee to ignore experience for learning on the job. And in fact, if you further read the letter, Goldfields gives you clear work done by engineers and planners over the period. Now you see, you are going into like a selection process. The person who is already undertaking the process says that I have already worked with ABCD person. They appreciate the conditions. They can do a better job. What will be the locus of the tender evaluation members to say that will ignore sound advice to try to do something? In fact, it would have been an anomaly if, for instance, engineers and planners does not have the experience and capabilities, and because of proximity to power or anything, they ignored experienced persons and went for Ibrahim. Rather, he had the experience. I've asked myself, what is the basis for any group of persons to even insinuate remotely that we are going to strike to do what?
They want to, they're asking questions of...
First of all, like I gave an indication, the no objection for engineers and planners to go into this acquisition was granted in 2024. At the time when it was granted, the current spokesperson, I think ranking on the Mines and Energy Committee, MP for Mampong, the Honorable Amprechum, was a Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs. At the time, engineers and planners was granted a no objection. Was that a conflict of interest? In fact, it was the ministry that did. His colleague, cabinet. In fact, he Amprechum was not a cabinet minister. The Lands and Natural Resource Minister at that time was a cabinet minister. He, through the ministry, communicated a no objection. So what would be the basis? So, look, let the record be set. One, the guidelines for the tender evaluation committee accepting the bids and others was never challenged, even by the four bidders. What it means is that they agreed that that was going to be the governing instrument of their engagement. That is the most fundamental point. Because it would have been different if the person says the rules of engagement have been skewed to favor somebody. And for that matter, I'm challenging the rules in the first place. Okay. They were willing, even under those rules of engagement, to put in a bid. If the evaluation was done pursuant to those rules of engagement, I do not see how anybody can challenge. But you see, when I listened to my senior brother, Kofi started the framing by saying that when you run with the prince, you should not win.
If you are wise.
If you are wise. It was a very mischievous framing.
What mischief do you see?
You see, it's as though, you see, you know you won't win. So don't even try. I mean, why?
The elders are not foolish. They know why they give that wise saying.
Okay.
Sometimes you win and your head is
The elders know why they give that wise saying.
I have to go for a quick break. When I
Why?
come back,
So,
this is
no, so I beg you, just, so this. What is also not in doubt is that, you know that one of the companies, BCM, which used to work with, the mine is owned by Goldfields, but they set up a subsidiary called Abosso that handled the Damang, mine. They had always worked with BCM. Even when that engagement came to a halt, Goldfields acknowledged that the costs that engineers and planners was giving them was lower. And that is why, at all material time, Goldfields had always acknowledged the important engagement by engineers and planners.
Okay.
For the first time, and I'll conclude on this so you can go for your distance. Let me say that we have to support a wholly owned Ghanaian business engaged in the business of mining with a solid track record, none other in this space compares to the record
Is
of
that
engineers.
principle across party lines?
It has always been.
Why didn't you support Brian?
Okay.
When the NDC was in power, Data Bank used to undertake bonds and others. The NDC had always supported enterprise.
But you criticized them.
No, has always supported enterprise.
You criticize them.
We
that's
have
why.
always supported enterprise. You don't deny
Enterprise is
that.
the oldest insurance company in this country.
So we have always supported them. We have
you didn't
also
have a choice.
look,
Okay.
we have also so we are done.
You didn't have a choice.
So we are done.
We'll be
They
back
are the
shortly
most
after
We are
this
done.
break.
We are done. We are done.
That is where
We are
Professor
done.
Budget would have to take on this matter.
Gives after
No,
After this quick break.
with them.
Through every step of life's unpredictable journey, every moment counts. That's why you need a partner you can always trust for solutions, so you can be rest assured. Having impacted over 200,000 lives, processed over 4.2 million claims, partnered with over 400 corporations, paid out over 836 million.
Well, Mr. Kujo, this is it.
Your case now becomes a very, you're fighting your problem.
January 8, 2026, a man's appearance on television goes viral in Ghana.
Why is he shaking his head? Is he autistic? Is it this? All kinds of disparaging comments. But of course, I mean, I accepted to live with it.
Beneath the shaking was a silent disease, once known as the shaking palsy.
I argued a lot when they first said it was Parkinson, because I said no.
If that affliction doesn't come, how do you know that God can deliver?
When they saw me in my hometown, they eventually went to my dad and said, hey, you can't allow this, so please, we know a spiritualist in Tafia Gome.
In Fighting Parkinson's, we delve deeper into a condition that does not care about title belts, about faith, or fame.
Regardless of how we treat the disease, it will over time continue to get worse.
As at the moment, it's not curable.
You can see the fingers shaking.
We investigate the triggers.
Anything that has a chemical called paraquat in it is a risk factor for Parkinson's disease. But guess what? They are all over Ghana.
And a local bean that may hold the secrets to a Ghanaian remedy.
7% of that bean is levodopa, which is the chemical or the medication used in Parkinson's disease.
A story of people fighting a battle inside their own nervous system. Fighting Parkinson's, a TV3 special assignment. Showing Wednesday, April 15 at 9 p.m. only on TV3.
Well, Mr. Kujo, this is it.
Your case now becomes a very, you're fighting your problem.
January 8, 2026, a man's appearance on television goes viral in Ghana.
Why is he shaking his head? Is he autistic? Is it this? All kinds of disparaging comments. But of course, I mean, I accepted to live with it.
Beneath the shaking was a silent disease, once known as the shaking palsy.
I argued a lot when they first said it was Parkinson because I said no.
If that affliction doesn't come, how do you know that God can deliver?
When they saw me in my hometown, they virtually went to my dad and said, hey, you can't allow this, so please, we know a spiritualist in Tafia Gomen.
In Fighting Parkinson's, we delve deeper into a condition that does not care about title belts, about faith, or fame.
Regardless of how we treat the disease.
Welcome back. It's Keep On here on TV3. We're live on 3FM 92.7 on a number of radio stations across the country. As always, it's proudly brought to you by Bank of Africa. Now, activate your dormant account with Bank of Africa. Enjoy our refreshed products and services, including our enhanced SME support facility, that's US dollar, debit card, credit card, and more. You may also update your account at any Bank of Africa branch with your Ghana card. Kindly reach our call center on 0302 429 333, 0302 429 333, or 0302 249 690, or chat Fafa at www.boaghana.com for support or inquiries. Bank of Africa, as strong as a group, as close as a partner. Miracles, this is how the DW reported this matter, that the Damang transaction reflects a deliberate policy direction under President Mahama to deepen local control over natural resources. And it is a test as to whether a Ghanaian can manage mining company. So that's just to reflect the perspective that Mr. Bento mentioned earlier. Already, that question is on the table even before EMP starts its operations or the operationalization of this particular mine.
Alfred, local control, yes. Indigenous ownership, yes. Ghanaian run mining, yes. But the question is, must he be the president's brother? And to my brother Eduji and the NDC, if I were them in this particular matter, I would keep quiet, sit down at the back of the class, and allow Ghanaians to vent as much as they can. Whatever it is, I don't see why, if we have EMP, a Ghanaian firm, bidding for a mine that is being run by a foreign company, I should have a problem with it. But I do have a problem with it. I do have a problem with it not because Ibrahim Mahama has done anything untoward to me, but it's because Ibrahim Mahama is a beneficiary of bitterness. He's a beneficiary of vitriol. He's a beneficiary of wicked politics against other equally qualified Ghanaians in this country. That's where my problem is. It's unfortunate that Mr. Ibrahim Mahama finds himself in this crossfire. But because he's a beneficiary, it's very, very difficult for you to sympathize with him. And that is why I ask Eduji that must you defend everything? Must you? What is he really justifying? I am watching him go around and talk about competence and caliber and everything, and I'm shaking my head. I said, listen, I would not do what he did when he was in a position. I am one of the most consistent people you can imagine in terms of what my views on issues are. I do not think Gabi or Tredakon, Bamti, Kenoforiata, or anybody's businesses that was being run under the Akufo-Addo government was wrong. I don't think so. And with the same principle, I don't think Ibrahim Mahama must shut down his company simply because his brother is president. I don't think so. But what does Eduji think? He disagrees with me. Eduji thinks that the NDC are special human beings. For them, it is wrong for the previous president to have his family members who were already running businesses before he became president to do business. But when it comes to his turn, as for him, it's okay, it should be allowed. That is why he should keep quiet. He shouldn't talk, he cannot speak. He shouldn't even talk about competence, capability. He should not. Because you see, Eduji, I'll have 4 different screenshots of Eduji.
Fake news.
Here. You can go, in fact, before he deletes, everybody watching me, before he deletes, you just go to his page and go and search Enterprise Group, search Kedofriata, search data by, it will pop up. Now, you see, and Alfred, it breaks my heart that we have to destroy others before we become who we are. It hurts me. And I'm going to take this issue one by one from a very sincere part of my heart. Listen, lawyer Eduji Tamaklo actually calls out Enterprise Insurance, the oldest insurance company in this country. Enterprise was founded in 1920. I have worked with the Enterprise Group before. It is the oldest, the most capable, the most competent insurance company you can find in this country. Enterprise pedigree is it's not in doubt. No insurance company in terms of capacity beats the Enterprise Group. But lawyer Eduji Tamaklo actually said that Enterprise Insurance taking over insurance for Consolidated Bank is called state capture. In fact, he called it, there's a name he actually, Capture Rasta. Is here.
That's a song by...
Capture Rasta. That is how he termed it. Capture Rasta. Eduji goes ahead to say that the fact that Enterprise Insurance is doing business with the state at a time when one of its previous directors, Ken Oforiatta, was in government, it meant that it's state capture. He goes on. I think the issues are playing. In fact, he says, he calls it greed. He says, what kind of greed is this? So they only came to government to boost their private companies. That's the question he asked. So right now, if somebody is asking a very rhetorical question, that what kind of greed is this? That the president and his brother, so basically only came to this country in government to come and take over our mineral resources. Go to bauxite, they've taken over. The gold we are buying, they've taken over. The mines we have, they've taken over. The black voter, they've taken over. So if I return Eduji's question, and you see, I am saying that, I'm sorry, but that businessman, Ibrahim Mahama, simply finds himself in this crossfire between Eduji and I, not because he's done anything wrong, but because of the benefit he is gaining as a result of what Eduji and his friends did to other equally competent businessmen. So he should stop defending it. He should stop talking about competence and due process. What is he talking about? The technical people are here and saying that due process.
But that's why
due process.
Through the process.
Sami Okudjota Ablakwa went to Shraj on Brian Achiampong, going through month-long, over 9 months of a tender process. A Ghanaian businessman, Brian's pedigree, when it comes to hospitality in Ghana, is in no doubt. He has the biggest hotel you can find in Africa. One of them. Okay. Now, Brian's company, not Brian, Brian's company put in a bid. Okudjota Ablakwa Samuel Honorable says that how are the tender committee members, as I have here, my senior members here, how are they going to look at Brian's document, being a cabinet member, and say they won't give the business to him?
Who said that?
Sami Okudjota Ablakwa. The video is here. Please. No. Would you play the video? No, the video is here. Would you play it? Would you play the video? It is here. And please stop also interjecting me when I finish. The video is here. That's what Sami Okudjota Ablakwa said. He said that he doesn't know how. Now let me ask you this question. If the tender committee would be afraid of a cabinet minister, then imagine the fear they will have of the president's brother. Yeah. Who has wholeheartedly...
The man is not afraid of Ibrahim.
He's not helping me. He's not helping me.
He's an independent-minded person.
He's not helping me. He's not helping me. Hold on.
How does that influence
this man? Exactly. This man, the man who has donated his private jet to the president for free. The man who is the president's brother actually drives the president's official vehicle to official functions. Has his document before this man. He's supposed to appraise it in 7 days. With cousins of companies.
Mischievous claims.
Oh, Charlie, what you're doing is not nice.
Independent companies. No, but how are they cousin companies? BCA.
Can I?
No, but it's unfair.
Dufo is the owner of Heath. Okay, Dufo is like a cousin to Ibrahim Mama in that sense.
Wow, look at that.
Oh, Charlie. You see, everybody watching me, if you want me to escalate this, then I'll escalate it. Listen, we are not kids in this country. We are not kids.
Escalate.
Don't treat us like you want to treat us. In this country, Data Bank that has been doing business with this country from the Kufuor Mills time till you came to power, and then including when the Kufuor came to power. You, including the president, labeled Data Bank as an institution that is stealing from the state because the previous director is a finance minister. Let me tell you what the president said. The president said that Akufo-Addo is going to go home with a plush retirement because Gabi, Bamti, and Data Bank are stealing for him.
Are stealing?
Yes. The video is here. If you want, the video is here. I have all the videos here. If your producers will allow.
We don't have time.
So stop interjecting me. I'll put it. Everybody watching me, because he has challenged me. As I am speaking, I am putting it on my Facebook wall. Go and watch. Now let me continue. It's okay. You let me continue. This is what the president said, and the only reason why John Mahama, His Excellency, said this about Akufo-Addo, okay, unprovoked, was because businesses and companies that were already doing business with the state continued to do business when Akufo-Addo was president. So today, if you come and sit on air, and you are trying to justify one of the most strategic mining assets the country has being given away to the president's brother under 7 days, then you take us for a fool.
A process that started under you.
Charlie, but why?
No, 2024. When you not in power.
I sat down and listened to you.
No, when you not in power in 2024, miracle. What are you talking about?
Hold on. On the matter of the period, I think we spent quite some time answering that question as to when this particular period started and why the tender period took 7 days. The explanation has been given by the tender committee. And in the matter of the other external factors that may have influenced your work, were you under any form of...
I'm not done.
I'll come to you. Because you raised those questions. He's seated next to you. Were you under any form of influence or pressure?
You are cross-examining on live TV, so he should tell you that.
Certainly no. I mean, and again, the composition of the committee is provided for in law.
Okay.
The requirements, the rules of the game have been clearly set out from the beginning. So it's simple. Do you have mandatory requirements? If you meet them, you go to the next stage. Ability to run the place, do you have it? Go to the next stage. So at the technical capacity level, HITS Gofield has 63% because they too have, they're already a mining company, they have expertise, they have operational experience. But more importantly, the kind of operational experience they have is not what maybe like fit for the Damang one. So see, you are judging based on clear evaluation criteria.
Okay.
Now the composition of the team, a former deputy CEO of the Minerals Commission is an engineer, the chief executive officer of the EPA, you can check her background, the DG of GGSA, who was a lecturer, but whatever it is.
These are all appointees of the man.
But that's how the law says. But miracle, see, that's how the law says. See, let's not make it look like the rules have been changed midstream.
So
Are you with me? I was coming there.
What exactly is Miracle communicating on this time? Because hold on. In one breath, you see, Alfred, for fairness, I want to understand the message from my brother Miracle. In one breath,
okay.
No, I beg you. The answer will come back.
The 7 days, was it a discretion?
It was.
It has no discretion. No.
Okay. You stop doing this. You've had this question and it has already been answered.
Which law says who developed the guideline?
The minister's
yes. Is that not discretionary?
So the guidelines will tell me the rules of the
game. But who developed the guideline?
I am coming. The guidelines
The rules
determines
allow
Has
the
any one of the bidders complained
the
about
ministers,
it?
We can
minister
yes,
guidelines.
complaining.
Oh, how?
Can I?
When you're talking about data upgrade,
I think
any
you-
of the
let me listen
investment
to-
companies
let me
can
listen
come to
to-
complain to you. Let me tell you.
What are you talking about?
So,
I
let me
will
understand your point.
respond to you.
That's our response. But you think you are the only one that
the
was speaking.
guidelines. So the guidelines determine the entire process. As provided for in the airline.
Right.
The minister simply followed it, and we move on. Then finally, I think it's very important that
He's answered.
I think
Question
very-
asked and already answered. We are
I
badging
think it's very
them.
important.
But you've I've lost my thoughts.
I think it's very important that
They work in
that we are careful.
They work in
Okay, hold on, gentlemen.
I think very important we are careful. We are careful not to, for whatever reason, if you like, denigrate the legal architecture that will be created for by law.
Okay.
LI 2176, I came to meet it. The Prime Minister came to meet it. So it's not like these that were created overnight. Therefore, the membership of the committee should be seen in that light. And it's also not appropriate to...
Don't worry.
Yes.
Don't worry.
The answers you are providing, the person you are giving that answer is not interested in the fairness of the process.
I am targeting our media, those who are listening to us, so they can follow.
Don't worry. You see, the answers you've given, I have only picked the manual Eduji left in opposition.
Well, look at
and I'm placing your answers in that manual. I haven't changed anything. What the president himself said is what I am. I'm testing what you are saying against.
Well, I am speaking about.
It's okay. Don't worry. The fact of the matter is that the problem with your requirement, which you are failing to admit. Oh, but you're not having finished, and you're trying to
round it up. Round up.
Why can I round up when
How was
you?
the influence? None of
don't
my members was influenced in that respect.
You did a very good job. Very fantastic job.
The fact of the matter is that we have given one of our strategic assets to the president's brother in 7 days. I personally, I don't have any problem with it.
No, you have a problem.
But Wumia's brother is doing business. He's been doing business since Kufuor's time.
Yeah, resource assets.
If Bawumia becomes president, his brother should still do business. I have no problem. But Eduji had a problem.
Oh, how?
With a company that was doing business from 1920, doing business with Kufuor. Did politics with it. Weaponized it. By the way you are doing weaponized it. Between Eduji and I have been very consistent. He is a hypocrite.
Oh, how?
But I'm telling the man who was here. By calling. But I'm telling you. I'm giving you the
where from the hypocrisy?
Welcome back. Let's keep on. Miracles, round up for me in a minute.
So you see, because ADG has succeeded in really distorting my thought, the fight the NDC have is not with the MPP on this matter. It's against the Ghanaian people. We see there are millions of Ghanaian people who feel betrayed because they voted on the words and the things you said against the previous government and their families.
All right.
The Gabis, no, don't say all right, I'm landing. What you said against Gabi, what you said against Bamti, what you said against Kenoforiata, what you said against Brana Champon, legitimate businesses. That is what is haunting this government. So now it's making even the truth they are saying about this deal sound like lies. Because in the past, you position this same justification as lies in the minds of the people. So I think that instead of trying to justify this, especially Honorable Sami Okujeto Ablakwa, he should come to Onuya TV, come and sit there and beg the people of this country.
Okay.
Otherwise, the people of this country would not forgive him for the Onuapaye document they are implementing right now.
Is it the Japan document?
Now, this last matter is an evolving issue. It is a constitutional question before the courts. So, Adam Zenanu, yes, Zenanu, on this, because I'm drawing you in here on this matter of the OSP and what the Attorney General is seeking to do on the matter of the prosecutorial powers that in the formation of the Special Prosecutor's Office has been given to the Special Prosecutor. He is in court, I'm talking about the Attorney General, asking a number of questions. One, that the prosecutorial powers of the Republic is vested solely in the Attorney General. Two, the OSP Act does not compel the Attorney General to authorize the OSP to prosecute offenses. Three, Parliament cannot compel the Attorney General to authorize any person to prosecute any offense. And then also that the OSP Act varies the Attorney General's constitutionally protected prosecutorial powers and many others. Now, will this suit by Noah Adamte, as it presents this fundamental constitutional question, correct a wrong that the Attorney General is pointing to, or will take us back to where we were seeking to move away from with the establishment of the Special Prosecutor's Office?
It definitely takes us back. And since I heard this, I have been shaking my head. You know, we used to say, I can't think far. I can't think far. I mean, I've been wondering who benefits? Who really is the beneficiary of all of this? Is it the Ghanaian people? Is this a public interest issue? Or are there some political elites under investigation or anticipating investigation who are manufacturing and influencing things? Or is there some institutional competition taking place here? And the timing beats my imagination. I mean, this is the easiest defense for our friend Uncle Ken. Easy one there. Because oh yes, if the OSP doesn't have the prosecutorial, then on what basis were those documents even sent in the first place? So who benefits? What is the beneficiary here? And how does this advance the case of the Ghanaian? So let me expand this a little more. For me, it turns back the progress that we made. Look, 8 years ago, 8 years plus, civil society, citizens of Ghana, parliament, we brainstormed, we argued, we debated, and we arrived at a conclusion. That conclusion was well informed by what the Constitution says. The Article 88, I mean, I don't think that you need, well, let's call it a progressive interpretation. It's a direct interpretation when he says, you could do this.
The police do it.
So I'm still trying to understand why this time. And I have a few questions. I mean, I have a question for the president. Mr. President, did our senior brother, the Attorney General, consult you? Because it goes against the president's effort to say, Parliament, we've drawn this thing about the OSP and so on and so forth. It kind of undermines his legacy. In fact, in my view, this helps to mobilize civil society against the government's position, because we've been talking about it and say, what are they trying to do? Okay. Not just that, it diminishes the goodwill and the political capital of the government. So right. if the AG is trying to do anything, And what happens if the court actually says that yes, OSP doesn't have the prosecutorial capacity? The Kanofriata case that's there. The lawyers are going to say, the entity cries in court, in the Supreme Court, trying to defend itself. So this thing has no merit.
No, but
it sets the stage for a lot of confusion. There's a key contradiction. How can the AG that picked the docket and documentation, the extradition request that have been put together by the OSP and forwarded, be the same one questioning the legal capacity and authority of the OSP? I mean, why do that? And why at this stage? It weakens the government's position out there. Look, if an independent prosecutor, a special prosecutor, has to defer to an attorney general, meanwhile we have debated this thing, where the attorney general and minister of justice has never been able to prosecute his own. Right. We went beyond that. Let me end with one more thing before. I want to refer to, since Edwige is here, Edwige, I was taking a look at the NDC manifesto. Let me read.
We have just 30 seconds.
NDC 2024 manifesto, page 135. This MPP administration has actively undermined and politicized independent state institutions such as the judiciary, the Electoral Commission, the Audit Service, and the Office of the Special Prosecutor. This is what they said at the launch. We will strengthen the Office of the Special Prosecutor and other anti-corruption institutions. How does this strengthen?
No, but Senator, are you saying that the Attorney General should not defend the suit? There are two things. At this point, I think you are concluding. You are saying that the Attorney General should not defend the suit.
No, it is an aberration.
It is.
The Attorney General's position is in line with the plaintiff.
No, hold on,
no, please, for amicus briefs. That is where the problem starts.
So you see,
the Supreme Court ruled that
in Radford,
the case can go ahead without the OSP.
In Radford, France, versus Attorney General and EC. There was an amicus brief that was entertained. So civil society group that strongly believe.
Understand why the AG should take this position.
The AG shouldn't take, because
why should the AG take this position?
This matter is evolving. We'll see how it plays out in court. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. And have a good week. I'm Alfred Okanse, and it was brought to you by Bank of Africa. Thank you.